This may look like separation, but it's actually solidarity. It's sacrifice and service to the greater good. It's a sign that through isolation, we are fighting as one. And there's no better reason than that for hope. Hope is something we sports fans know all about. It's what keeps us cheering year after year for our favorite stars and our favorite teams, alongside our friends and family. And in football, the draft is when hope starts all over again.
You guys ready to get started?
Hope, the deep and passionate kind. Hope that the next pick will make this season the season. Hope that the next name called will be yours. But this year, we're hoping for more than a future star, a stronger line, or greater speed. We're hoping to fill a deeper need. With a future of full arenas, full voices, free reign, to gather, to feel the power of football together. Because that will mean life is back to normal for us all. So celebrate with these young men as they start their careers today. Looking forward to a stretch of glorious tomorrows. For this draft, we're not the Raider Nation or cheeseheads. We're not red and gold or white and blue. We're one football family. Sharing our hope with all of you.
That the voice of Peyton Manning talking about hope. That, of course, is Las Vegas, Nevada, where the draft was supposed to be held. But things have changed dramatically, and we have changed with it. The draft, in all its glory, is still coming to you tonight, just from a different location and in a different way. And with that, we welcome you in to the 2020 NFL Draft, presented by Lowe's. It is our privilege and delight to once again be with you here tonight. And we understand the world that we know has changed and may be changing for the foreseeable future, but we are still here to be a part of what is one of the great communal sports experiences of all time, the NFL Draft. And as we deal with the pandemic that is sweeping across this country, our thoughts and prayers go out to one of our own. Our own Todd McShay is not with us tonight because he's disclosed he is battling the coronavirus. Todd, we are with you. This draft coverage tonight is for you, and we look forward to getting you back and with us as soon as you possibly can. But we have it all covered like we do every year, people. You're looking at 60 remote setups of potential draftees across the landscape. We will have those reactions as we always do, the raw emotion when they come. We also have all 32 teams. We've got them ready to make the picks. You will hear for all of them, and we've got our team as well to break down every single pick. But ladies and gentlemen, let us get this party started with the commissioner.
Welcome to the 2020 NFL Draft, and thank you for taking the time to be with us. Like millions of fans, team personnel, and prospects, I join you from my home for the first virtual NFL Draft. This is different for us, and it's different for you, because it has to be. Our thoughts have been elsewhere lately. We have been thinking of those fighting bravely on the front lines and those whose lives have been profoundly changed by this unprecedented crisis. We marvel at the compassion and courage of our healthcare heroes and first responders. We appreciate our leaders and the men and women serving our country. Thanks to these heroes and to everyone who's done their part to help stop the spread. We will get through this together. And when we do, we will be here for you. As we celebrate the newest class of the NFL, we hope the draft will provide a break from everyday challenges. Let us dream of better days and help others. The Draft-a-thon will raise awareness and much-needed funding for those who need it most. For those able to help, we encourage you to visit nfl.com/relief to join the NFL family and make a contribution. We are so fortunate to have the most passionate and generous fans in the world, and we thank you for helping to make the NFL what it is and for being part of our family. Many families have experienced loss. To honor and remember those we have lost, please join me in observing a moment of silence. Thank you. To perform the national anthem, we welcome from his home, with help from his daughter Georgia, Grammy and Emmy Award winner and New Orleans Saints fan, Harry Connick Jr.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Every night in cities across our country and all over the world, thousands gather in the streets, windows, and doorways to cheer on the millions of frontline workers fighting this virus and working tirelessly to help navigate us through these unprecedented times. Please join me in cheering on these brave heroes.
The NFL football draft is a very important component of the sports world in the United States and even in some respects worldwide. It's important for the players to be drafted. It's important for the fans who are anticipating what hopefully would be a really great season of football. Unfortunately, we are now beset with a really extraordinary, unprecedented challenge of a pandemic with the novel coronavirus. This has really transformed what we can do right now and even made unclear what the future looks like, at least the immediate future. We have important things that occur in the middle of this. One of them is the football draft. And I'm pleased to say, and I want to commend those involved in these decisions to show that we can have something as important as that in a way that safeguards the life, the safety, and the health of the American public by doing the kind of physical separations, doing things virtually, avoiding that kind of contact that puts you at risk. So it's a good thing to do. I know it's unusual. I know it disturbs the normal pattern, but it really is for your good and the good of the country. So the best thing we could do now is hope for the best and hope that sooner or later, hopefully sooner, we can get back to some form of normality where we can all enjoy the sport that we love so much.
Dr. Fauci, thanks very much. So it's going to be a different draft, but we're going to make sure you experience the same raw emotions that we always see. Again, this is the group of players that have allowed us to share their draft experience with them, some 60 players. So when their name is called, you will see that reaction, you will see that raw emotion. All 32 teams are also wired in with the head coach, the general manager, and the owner. Any one of those three people can actually make the selection for their team. And all teams will email or phone in their picks, much in the way they always do throughout every draft. So there may be some technological glitches, and we will ride through it, but we'll do it together as we witness one of the great spectacles in all of sports, the NFL draft. And we've got the fans here as well as they get set. As you can see, Bengal fans are waiting, and some are already donning the Joe Burrow jersey. Will it be that simple? Because if it is, it would be the third straight year that the Heisman Trophy winner was taken as the first overall selection in the draft. There is Zach Taylor looking to rebound after a rough year as his first year as the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. Went 2-14, started the season 0-11, but they're hoping they turned it around late and will turn it around tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, to officially open the 2020 draft, let's go to the commissioner.
Doing the draft this way is a new experience for all of us, but some things remain the same. First, the hugs. Sharing that special moment with a player when he is selected is a big highlight for me. My body won't miss those great big bear hugs, but I sure will. Instead, we'll find other ways to have fun virtually. Second, I will miss the interaction I have with our fans over these 3 days. It's a draft tradition and one that I genuinely enjoy. Let's hear from you right now. Oh, come on, guys. You can do better than that. Let's go. Oh, Strahan, come on, let's go. Come on, you guys can do better than that. All right, keep it coming. Wow, even the virtual boos are good. Yes, I can hear you from my basement, so keep it coming. Lastly, the best part of the draft is that it restores hope and generates optimism, because every team gets better through the draft. So good luck to every team, and let's get it started. It's now my honor to announce that the first ever virtual NFL draft is officially open. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock.
Commissioner, thanks very much. We told you we'd have some boos for you. Zach Taylor is there looking to make his first selection. Duke Tobin also furiously working through what may be happening. Of course, you earned the top pick in the draft, and the Cincinnati Bengals, while they have had some playoff appearances over the last 10 to 15 years, have struggled. Fifth worst record in NFL history, .449 winning percentage. 20 seasons without a playoff win, the longest active streak in the NFL. And of course, this is the fourth #1 pick in the last 30 seasons, which is tied for the most in the NFL over that time frame. And there is the man from Athens, Ohio, the Heisman Trophy winner, Joe Burrow, who is the presumptive, for the next few minutes anyway, the #1 overall pick. So let's get to know Joe Burrow, the former LSU quarterback, and the high hopes he hopes to bring to the Cincinnati Bengals. He comes from a football family. They all went to Nebraska. Nebraska chose to not pick up on Joe Burrow, even after he was a 2014 Mr. Football out of Athens High School in southeast Ohio, and then, of course, went to Ohio State. At one point, he was considered to be the next Alex Smith, but never really got going. Then he transferred to LSU. His first season in 2018 was okay, 16 touchdowns, 5 picks. And then 2019 happened, and my God, he rolled in everything you possibly could. Single-season records for total offensive yards, total touchdowns at 60, or total touchdown passes at 60, total touchdowns at 65, a national championship, and a Heisman Trophy as well. It's arguably the greatest season a college quarterback has ever had. They beat 7 top 10 teams and scored a record 726 points. So let's get to know Joe Burrow as best as we can. Mel, Cincinnati is here because last year wasn't great. They have had some success, but they need Joe Burrow to up the ante here.
Yeah, I'd like to dispel that myth that the Bengals are the worst place to go. Since 2003, when they drafted Carson Palmer, 6 10-win seasons. That's as many as the Cowboys had, more than the Chargers, the Giants, and the 49ers. Quarterback since 2003, basically Palmer and Dalton have thrown 414 touchdown passes. That's 13th in the NFL. Not the worst place to go. And for Joe Burrow, what impressed me the most was the big games. There were 5 opponents that finished in the top 10 when the season ended. Against those 5 opponents, Joe Burrow had 22 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. And when the pressure was on, he was always at his best.
He was absolutely Joe Cool. Daniel Jeremiah, when you see Joe Burrow, what's the first thing that stands out when you watch the tape?
Well, to me, it's just the poise that he plays with. I look at accuracy, poise, decision-making, playmaking, and Joe Burrow's off the charts in all 4 of those areas. The big leap took place from 18 to 19 because they got 5 guys out into the route, and that's where he was able to spread and shred every single defense he faced with LSU this fall.
Let's go to Kurt Warner next. Kurt, lots of quarterbacks have great stats, but you look for traits in college quarterbacks that can translate to the NFL. Yours certainly did. What are you looking at trait-wise that you like from Joe Burrow?
Well, you're right, Trey. There's not very many sure things at the quarterback position making that transition from college to pro. So what does translate? When you talk to players going from college to the NFL, the first thing they say is the speed of the game picks up. If you're looking at Joe Burrow, that was probably his greatest strength, was being able to process information, make good decisions, and get the ball out of his hands quickly. Also, a very accurate quarterback, over 76% completion. That is something that also translates. A couple things I really like about Joe Burrow.
All right, Kurt, thanks very much. Let's go to our front office insider, Louis Riddick. Louis, it was your job to evaluate talent like Joe Burrow when you were working with Washington and Philadelphia. What did you learn about him through this process?
Look, Trey, he's a guy who can do many, many good things, and he's a very diverse quarterback as far as the kind of things that he can execute both inside the pocket and outside the pocket. Inside the pocket, we've already talked about the fact that he's one of those guys who can just move subtly, buy time, keep his eyes down the field, and throw the ball with accuracy. He can throw the ball outside the pocket on designed boots and rollouts and throw it with accuracy there. And then the number one thing really is this. He is very, very athletic, almost sneaky athletic, but people who watch him realize that this is a guy who can pick up first downs with his legs, so he can do it all. You can see why Cincinnati ultimately is going to pick him.
Listen, we've got all the physical traits. Michael Irvin, you talked about this earlier in our pregame show about above the shoulders. I want to read a quote to you about Joe Burrow, about trying to be a leader. He said, everyone has their own secret sauce. You can't steal someone else's. If Burger King tried to make cane sauce, it would be crap. Everyone has to have their own. You just have to find it. And he seems like he's found that sauce.
Just by sharing that right there with you tells you he understands he has to be himself in order to win that locker room. But he has those 3 things that as a young man, he's going in a grown man's locker room and trying to win that locker room. They want to know, your quarterback, can you score? You just talked about he had the touchdown record in the FBS. They want to know, can you win? They went 15-0 and he won the Heisman Trophy. And they want to know, can you lead? He led his team to a national championship. That should go a long way, Trey, when he walk in that Bengals locker room and try to ascend to the leader of that team, franchise, and community.
Michael, you're absolutely right. And Booger, you saw this unfold firsthand. I mean, let's be honest. When Joe went to Baton Rouge, skinny kid from Southeast Ohio, he was all the way an outsider. And by the end of this past college football season, he could not have been more a Bayou Bengal.
Well, Troy, he's got that it factor. You know, many have tried, but Joe was the only one to succeed, to come to Baton Rouge and to galvanize all the talent that LSU had down there. And his ability to walk in the huddle and have the other 10 guys look at him and know that we have a guy that has supreme confidence, not cockiness, but just confidence. And Trey, I'll tell you a story. We were walking to midfield for the national championship game. It was me and Joe side by side against Clemson. He simply looked at me and gave me a wink. He's confident, not cocky, and Cincinnati's going to love him up there.
Oh, you got to like that in your quarterback. A very, very cool story there, Booger. So he did win the Heisman Trophy in a landslide, most first-place votes, widest margin of victory we've ever seen. But during that time, when Joe was at the pinnacle of individual achievement, he took a pause in that Heisman Trophy speech and for about 30 seconds spoke about something that was very near and dear to his heart.
Coming from Southeast Ohio, it's a very, very impoverished area, and the poverty rate is almost 2 times the national average, and there's so many people there that don't have a lot. And I'm up here for all those kids in Athens and in Athens County that, you know, go home to not a lot of food on the table, hungry after school. You guys can be up here too. I'd like to thank.
And that has led to the Joe Burrow effect away from the field, including restaurants in the Plains, Ohio, naming meals and omelets after him. Look at him celebrating with the fans after they came back after that win over Alabama, and then changing his jersey name to Burrow in classic Louisiana style. He was in every way the Lion King as he won that Heisman Trophy in a landslide, and over $500,000 raised to the Athens Food Pantry. Even got a giraffe named after him. He put up a sign in Baton Rouge this week thanking them for everything they've done. And of course, self-deflecting as well, basically monitoring and saying, I haven't gotten a haircut in a month, so don't make fun of me. I couldn't get to the barber and get cleaned up. But ladies and gentlemen, the pick is in. The Bengals have turned in their selection. Let us go to the commissioner.
Okay, here we go. With the first pick in the 2020 draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU.
And there you see Joe with mom and dad, and you have to wonder what's going through his mind right now. Remember, when he entered the transfer portal, he said one more time he wanted to go to Nebraska, and Scott Frost, the coach, said, is he better than what we got? The answer is yes. Mel Kiper, what do you like most about Joe Burrow's game?
I'll tell you what, the improvement was so dramatic, and you were a little cautious early on, Trey, because this is a 6th-round pick going into the year, and all of a sudden, you see this guy putting up big numbers. He looks like he's got it. He's going to incorporate every receiver into the mix. They got everything going. And you start moving him up to the 3rd round, 2nd round. I drew comparisons to Tony Romo. Then it became Tom Brady. Then you get late in the season after he won the Heisman Trophy, you say, boy, now the pressure's on. This is championship or bust for LSU, and he didn't blink. He got behind, don't struggle in the Clemson game early, and then all of a sudden, lights out. Again, Joe Burrow's poise, his confidence, the way he manipulates the pocket, he just has that it factor. He has tremendous awareness. He slips, he dips, stays away from trouble, and then makes those accurate strikes down the field. Joe Burrow put together the best season I can ever remember a college quarterback having. As I said, you talk about the elite competition he faced, 7 opponents that were combined 77-18. That's 77-11 if you take those losses to LSU out of it. So this is a guy that every step of the way played above and beyond what anybody could have expected based on what we saw 2 years ago. I think his improvement was not only dramatic, it was historic, and I don't think we'll ever see it again, Trey. Look, I've never seen a guy
most
do
people
what he
talk
did
about
this
this,
year.
Bell, as far as him being a one-year wonder. But if you go back to 2018, you started to see this coming on. He was more and more comfortable. And then in 2019, when Joe Brady comes down there and he opens up the door and he says, you know what, Joe, I'm going to put 5 out wide and I'm going to allow you to see the field. And Joe Burrow grew up right before our own very eyes. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals are getting a player that if they will take some of the same concepts that Joe Brady brought down to LSU, if they will have some of those same concepts in Cincinnati, you will see the same thing from Joe Burrow, a quarterback that can lead your football team from a talent standpoint, and he will make sure that you guys go where you want to go, which is to the promised land.
Hey, Boog, a lot of people have asked me, why did he make that big transition from 18 to 19? It wasn't just the system. He got there late before that 18 season, didn't get a chance to get comfortable, and he had a little rust. He hadn't played a lot of football in 3 years, but what we saw this year was outstanding. How about the field vision, the awareness? You read the safety vacate, go towards the middle of the field. You've got a vertical with Justin Jefferson from the slot. You take that all day long. He identifies, he attacks, and he drops this ball beautifully in the bucket. How about working in the middle of the field? Anticipation and ball placement doesn't get better than that. And then the toughness. We've all talked about that toughness with Joe Burrow. His eyes don't drop under pressure. Hang in there. You take the big hit and deliver a strike right on the money. Again, working in the middle of the field. How about the pocket awareness? Climb, feel it, keep your eyes downfield, find that backside seam, and again, beautiful ball placement. If you want to nitpick him, he played with an all-star cast of receivers, so every now and then he got away with a throw like this one that he might not necessarily get away with at the next level. But Lewis, outside of just pure top-shelf arm strength, I love everything about Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, he really is technically proficient in many, many different things when you're talking about playing the quarterback position. First and foremost, when you want to look at him compared to some guys who are playing in the league right now as far as traits, you know, we already talked about the pocket mechanics. Look at him move up in the pocket here, keep his eyes down the field, 2 hands on the football to make sure it's secure, and then hit Justin Jefferson coming across the middle of the field. Tom Brady, again, has made a living doing this his entire career. He doesn't have to be a great athlete, but he's so just smooth in the pocket. And now, outside the pocket, he's a guy who can escape the rush again, push up in the pocket now to the right, get outside the tackle box, and just throw a dart down the right sideline there and just put it on the money. Jared Goff under Sean McVay, someone who was featured outside the pocket. Look at his throw right here to Brandon Cooks in the back of the end zone at the back pylon. Doesn't get any better than that. And then his recognition and athleticism to be able to recognize, hey, all the defenders' backs are to me on the second level. They're running down the field man to man. I'm going to take off and I'm going to burn you with my athleticism. Ryan Tannehill does the same thing. He carried the Tennessee Titans in this manner all year long in 2019. When he sees the defenders turn their back, he's going to take off and run with the football. This is what makes Joe Burrow the total package. This is why you go #1 overall.
Yeah, listen, it's hard to go against anything that we saw from Joe Burrow this past season. So he is truly the Tiger King. So let us go for more on that. He goes from a Bayou Bengal to a Cincinnati Bengal. Our Susie Culver standing by with Joe Burrow.
Well, we all knew this was coming. Doesn't make it any less powerful. Joe, you were in Nashville last year for the draft. If I had said to you then, you're going to be #1 overall in 2020, what would you have said?
I would have told you were crazy. You know, I knew I was going to have a really good season because I knew, you know, we had really good players coming back. I had great coaches, and we were going to work really, really hard to do it. But to jump up to #1 overall is crazy to me. But it's a dream come true.
Mel Kiper shared earlier that going into last season, he had a 6th-round grade on you, but then you won the Heisman, a national title. You're #1 overall. How do you process that?
Well, I wasn't very good my junior year. You know, it's pretty simple. I worked really hard to get better. All my guys worked really, really hard to get better. And we just gelled as a team this year to do exactly what we did. I just wasn't as good as I was my senior year. But I worked really, really hard to improve.
Tell us what the area code represents on your shirt.
740. This is, you know, Athens County area. I wanted to get something to, you know, represent my home area, my hometown, and Nike made this for me. It's been great. I just want to show as much appreciation to this area as I can.
Joe, congratulations. #1 overall.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Susie, Joe, thanks very much. Congratulations. Washington is now on the clock, and you're looking at Chase Young, presumptive to be the pick there, the best defensive end in this board, the best player, quite frankly, in this draft, based on total talent, if you look at Mel Kiper's big board. So let's tell you a little bit about Chase Young and the things that he's been able to do at Ohio State. A long list of great defensive ends over the years have come out of Ohio State. Chase Young, of course, born in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Here's the entire list of Ohio State defensive ends that have had multi-years with double-digit sack seasons. Mike Vrabel and Chase Young. That's the entire list. That's why a lot of people think that they are zeroing in on the man they call the Predator because of those long dreadlocks he likes to wear. There's Ron Rivera, the new head coach of the Washington Redskins, and Kyle Smith, the VP of Player Personnel. Nice sectional couch, by the way. So we believe the pick is in. Let's see what Washington is going to do. Once more, let's go to Roger Goodell.
With the second pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Chase Young, defensive end, Ohio State. Congratulations, Chase.
So there you see Chase, a very, very happy young man, a team captain in the nucleus of that defense that allowed the fewest total yards per game in the nation last season. I guess crab cakes and football, that's what Maryland does, because Chase Young, born in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, second straight year that Washington has gone the Maryland route for a first-round pick, taking Dwayne Haskins. They're played with NBA #1 overall pick Markelle Fultz at one point. Dwayne Haskins grew up about 27 miles away from where the Redskins train, and Chase Young about 55 miles from the Redskins practice facility in Ashburn, Virginia. So we are clearly seeing a pattern. Booger, Chase Young was a dominant force. We talked about the sacks that he was able to get at Ohio State. What is Washington getting in Chase Young?
Well, quite simply, Trey, they're getting the best player in this entire draft. He can affect the game not only on first and second down, setting the edge, playing the run, but he can also be a dominant pass rusher on third down. You want to overset him as an offensive tackle, I have the agility to come inside, and he learned that at Ohio State from one of the best defensive line coaches in America, Larry Johnson. Got to give him a lot of love for what he's done the last few years with the Bosa brothers and now Chase Young. But you're getting a guy who can be a Hall of Fame type player. Bill Polian once said, when you draft guys in the top 10, they have to be worthy of wearing a gold jacket. And this young man, Chase Young, he definitely is a versatile defensive end that can play the left side or the right side. And if you're the Redskins, Montez Sweat on the right side, now Chase Young on the left side, you have a very, very good pair of bookends.
No question, Boog. And I think you look at that division with Dak Prescott, with Carson Wentz, and an emerging Daniel Jones. Now you get the outside pass rush. Hopefully Sweat comes on. You know Chase Young's going to be a factor. He is the master of the strip sack, those forced fumbles. He knows how to create. Final 3 games of the season, didn't have a sack. I think that's why it made it easier for the Bengals to say, hey, it's Joe Burrow, not Chase Young. But certainly the Redskins, after he's thrilled, as you say, to get the best player on the board pretty much all year has been Chase Young.
Well, yeah, one of the things about Chase Young, when you're talking about comparables and guys who he looks like in the NFL, I mean, you have to look at a guy like Jadeveon Clowney in terms of height, weight, and speed. They look almost identical as far as their body types when you just look at them here on the screen. I mean, these guys really are the prototypes when you're talking about 4-3 defensive ends. And with Chase Young, it starts in the run game. A guy who can get off the ball, reset the line of scrimmage, and then come back inside and make tackles here. And you see Jadeveon Clowney, he's just going to win here with speed at the line of scrimmage, but he's still disruptive and get the TFL to tackle for the loss. And then there's the power component, rushing the passer, when you just come off the ball and really just take the offensive tackle and deposit him back in the lap of the quarterback, come off the block, and then make the sack. Here you're going to see Jadeveon Clowney do the same thing to Mike McGlinchey of the San Francisco 49ers. Just put him right back on Jimmy Garoppolo and get the sack. And then there's just rushing with speed, just absolutely teeing off with running, and you can just run the horn there, get your inside pad down, and sprint to the quarterback. And then with Jadeveon Clowney, you see here, he's just going to throw the rip, continue high side, and finish with the sack. And that is something that this is is a guy who can do those kind of things. DJ, what did you see in Chase Young? What did you like about him?
Well, everything you just said there, Lewis. I thought he created chaos in every single game that I watched. Even the Clemson game, the stat sheet might not show it, but I charted 5 pressures in that game despite getting double, triple teamed, 3-step drops, getting away from him. He still impacted the game. This Washington Redskins team was last on third down defense. That'll change.
Yeah, DJ, it certainly will. Real quickly, Chase Young was destined to be a football player. He was playing flag football at the age of 5. He didn't go for the flags. He kept tackling the players, then getting their flags. The other parents complained and said it isn't fair. Sometimes life isn't fair, and it may not be fair that you have that much talent in that kind of body for Chase Young. You saw that picture, by the way, on his desk. That's in honor of his grandfather who died in 2012. Carl H. Robinson died at 74 after a long illness. He was a big part of what Chase Young was as a boy, and they are honoring here with that picture tonight. So that means we are at pick number 3. That's the Detroit Lions. There you see Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia.
With the 3rd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Jeff Okudah, defensive back, Ohio State.
And there you see the reaction in Grand Prairie, Texas, where Jeff Okudah is from. The cornerback goes off the board. Here's what's really interesting. The top 3 picks in this draft at one time or another all played at Ohio State University. Taking a look at Jeff Okudah and everything that he's done. He was the #1 cornerback in the ESPN class of 2017. His mother died 6 days after his first day on campus as an early entrant at Ohio State in January of 2017. He wears a bracelet for his mother, Maria Okudah, in her memory, and wrote a really heartfelt letter to her after she had passed away, saying all the things that she had meant to him and helped him along the way. And now Jeff Okudah, by the way, also was an academic star at Ohio State, carrying a GPA of 3.0. Jeff, we thought this would be the #1 corner off the board. We've gone chalk. What do you like most about what you see in Okudah's game?
Well, Trey, I see the size and the length in somebody that is outstanding in press coverage. He wants to play physical at the line of scrimmage. We saw him do it against some of the best wide receivers in this year's draft class. He's got the fluidity to be able to open up. He can drive on the football. He can find and play the football. So I thought he was the most complete cornerback in this year's draft class, and I honestly did not think it was very close. The Detroit Lions have to get better against the pass, and this was the best option for them to get that done.
Mel, what do you like about him?
Well, you look at him and you got a complete corner, a guy that will tackle. That's so important in this league now with the short passes, come up and make the tackle on those elusive receivers. And in the run game, Jeff Okudah is a very confident corner, doesn't get called for penalties. He understands how to break up a pass and not draw the flag, and that's critical in the National Football League. I think Derek Brown, defensive tackle, Auburn, was tempting for the Detroit Lions, but you got Darius Slay moving on. You need that lockdown corner, and that's what Jeff Okudah will be expected to be. He'll be hoped to be Stephon Gilmore with the Detroit Lions.
There you see a very happy Matt Patricia, the head coach. And by the way, this is the 6th time in 7 years the Buckeyes have a cornerback taken in the first round of the draft. And there you see Bob Quinn, also very, very happy. And we have a theme for the first 3 draft picks of 2020. Burrow, Chase Young, and Okudah, all teammates at Ohio State in 2017. And the first 3 picks off the board in the draft in 2020. We're just getting started.
The 2020 NFL Draft is presented by Lowe's, the official home improvement sponsor of the NFL. And in part by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. Draft, presented by Lowe's.
Here at New York Presbyterian, every day we can hear the people cheering. We feel it, and it gives us hope.
Working on the front lines of this crisis can be overwhelming, but knowing we're in this together keeps us strong.
It's what you're not doing that's keeping us safer. Just by staying home helps us save lives, so keep it up. We just want to thank all of you, our families and loved ones. Thank you too.
Please know that we are cheering you on too. We are stronger together.
Well, a little cheer can go a long, long way, and we're all in this together now. Help make a difference. Huddle up for COVID-19 relief efforts and join players, teams, fans, and communities around the country in the NFL Draft-a-thon. If we unite behind this cause, we can provide relief for those significantly impacted by the pandemic. Every dollar counts. Visit NFL.com/relief to donate now. So the Giants are now ready to roll. You know, they won that Super Bowl 46, 21-17 over the Patriots. That seems like a lifetime ago for Giants fans. They failed to make the playoffs in 7 of their next 8 seasons. The one time they did, they lost in the wild card round. Eli retired following this 2019 season. Once a Giant, only a Giant was the line. Head coach Pat Shurmur was fired in December, 9-23. Joe Judge hired in January, and Joe Judge now, of course, went the route last spent time with the Patriots as not only their special teams coordinator, but also worked out with the linebackers there. And he sort of had a little viral moment here. His dog, Abby, was on the cover of the New York Post with this Giants Twitter account posting a photo of Judge working from home, and Abby became an internet sensation. And Judge said right now Abby could probably tell you more about who we're going to take in the first round than anybody else. But ladies and gentlemen, take a look at Joe Judge, and I don't see Abby anywhere. Joe, if you're telling us the dog's going to make the pick, we need to know that the dog is in there making the pick with you. Mel, where should the Giants go here with this? We know their GM, Dave Gettleman, loves the big guys. Could we see a run on thickness starting here?
Well, it's all about Saquon Barkley and your franchise or potential franchise quarterback in Daniel Jones. You got to keep him upright. Too many hits on the quarterback. I thought he had a great rookie year, Daniel Jones, but an offensive tackle like Tristan Wirfs, Iowa, Jedrick Wills Jr., Alabama. And then there's a defensive stud there. Versatile Isaiah Simmons, outside linebacker Clemson. But you think about Gettleman, the offensive tackle spot, so critical for Barkley and Daniel Jones.
All right, listen, it certainly seems Dave Gettleman has made it clear he loves what he likes to call the hog mollies, the big guys up front. Isaiah Simmons is still there. Dabo Swinney has called him a beautiful football player. What will the Giants do? The pick is in. Let's go to the commish.
With the 4th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Andrew Thomas, tackle, Georgia.
Not a surprise that it's an offensive lineman, but perhaps somewhat of a surprise that it's this offensive lineman, Andrew Thomas. As a junior last season, he won the SEC's Jacob Blocking Trophy and was a consensus All-American. Now, what's really interesting about him is that not only did he play high school football, but as you can see, he was what we call a percussionist at Pace Academy, which is a fancy way of saying he played the drums. Now, his high school coach was Chris Slade, a defensive end who played a lot of years in the NFL, and he said, look, I'm glad that you play the drums, but if you take this football thing a little more seriously, you might play in the NFL. And DJ, that turned out to be very sage advice from Chris Slade.
Yeah, Trey, starting 41 games in the SEC. He's played left tackle. He's played right tackle. You know, everybody had these tackles in a different order. For me, he was my 4th offensive tackle, but I do feel like he has a very high floor. You know exactly what you're getting with him. He's going to be able to uproot people in the run game, and he's going to have a firm anchor in pass protection to hold up there. I did not see elite recoverability, elite quickness, or elite athleticism. I think that they've got themselves a solid, steady player, but I thought there were better options on the board at the position at this point in time if they were going to go tackle.
Lewis, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I kind of agree with DJ. Look, of all the offensive tackles, I really thought Jedrick Wills was one of the guys who I thought would go off the board first. But I can tell you this about Andrew Thomas. When you talk to people around the league, they feel as though he has absolutely pristine football and personal character. It's just some of the concerns for me as far as the power with which he can play with in the run game, because he plays with a little bit of a narrow base. But I will tell you this, he has tremendously long arms. He is real good in his pass sets, and you're getting a quality kid, which really counts for something when you're drafting this high.
All right, Lewis, thanks very much. So we have landed at the 5th spot, one of 3 picks that the Miami Dolphins have in this first round. And of course, as we see Joe Judge talking about what they've done there, let's talk about Miami, because they have had their issues since Dan Marino. And you look at all the things that have gone on. Other notable players they've traded in the last 14 months. Robert Quinn went to the Cowboys. He's since moved on. Kenny Stills is part of the Laramie Tunsil trade. Pico Alonso to the Saints. Kenyon Drake. They have picks in the next 2 drafts. They have 5 first-round picks and 4 second-round picks. So they have the draft capital to do essentially whatever they want. But the Dolphins, well, when they had Dan Marino, they didn't really worry about much. But they haven't had Dan Marino since he retired before the 2000 season. That's 21 different starting quarterbacks, and they've only drafted 1 quarterback in the first round, Ryan Tannehill, 8th overall, and now he's signed to be the Tennessee Titans quarterback after taking them to the AFC Championship game. And their 149 and 171 record, only 7 winning seasons. Ryan Fitzpatrick, we know, is there, the bearded lunatic from Harvard, but could this be the spot where Tua Tagovailoa comes off the board? There you see Tua's family getting set to hopefully hear their name. Let's go back to Kurt Warner from the NFL Network and our Hall of Famer. Kurt, Tua Tagovailoa. We know about the health issues. The Dolphins once passed on Drew Brees with health issues. What do you think of Tua here?
Well, I would love the Tua pick right here. I think when you're at this spot in the draft, you're at the number 5 pick, you say to yourself, do we feel there is a transcendent player at the quarterback position if you do not have one? When I look at across the board, who's out here in this draft class, Tua to me is the only guy I see that say, this guy could be transcendent. Now, I understand the injury issues. How do you feel about those injuries issues? Do you feel there's another guy that is that transcendent guy where you could jump over Tua to get someone else? But I love the Tua pick right here. I think he's got the potential to be a really special quarterback at the next level.
All right, now there's a shot at Chris Greer, who was with the Dolphins in 2006 when, as a unit, Louis Riddick, they decided to pass on Drew Brees because they didn't clear his shoulder. They went with the safer pick in Dante Culpepper, and let's just say we all know how that worked out. Drew Brees is still going strong and setting records for the Saints. As an organization, Lewis, you've been in these meetings. There's a medical issue. How do you weigh the medical versus the talent?
Yeah, it's all about managing risks, right? It's all about future performance projection. And a bunch of the future performance projection as far as Tua is concerned is, first, is he going to be on the football field? And I think when you're picking in the top 5 here, obviously you're going to be a little bit cautious as far as saying, hey, look, we don't even know if he's going to make it to a second contract, okay? We don't know if he's going to do that. But maybe in that first contract, he just sets the world on fire. And if we get lucky and he does learn how to get the ball out of his hands faster and take care of himself, we may have that generational guy. We may have that lefty that we put in the same category as the Steve Youngs and Jim Zorns of the world when they played in the NFL. So let's just see if they go ahead and they throw caution to the wind and make the pick, or do they back off?
Well, listen, the great Spanish philosopher Santayana said those who do not remember history are destined to repeat it. So we'll see what happens here if that's the case. Again, the pick is not in yet, but as we go through this process of looking about what Tua may bring to the Dolphins, if it is indeed him, let's go back to Mel. Mel, listen, we've been through this, and we know we're in a weird situation here with the medical, and you can't really get your hands on these guys. If this was a normal run-up to the draft, would this be as much of an issue as it is right now?
Probably not, Trey. And I think you look at it, he wouldn't be there at 5 if it weren't for the injury. They would have had to trade up to get him. But the offensive tackle's interesting. And then do you circle back and get a quarterback at 18 if you pass on Tua and Herbert? This is a fascinating pick. We've been talking about it seems like, for 2 months every day.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be interesting. So, again, the Dolphins have the capital to do whatever they want here. Again, this is the first of their 3 picks in the first round. And there's still about 7 minutes to go. Oh, wait, we're hearing it now. The pick is in. Let's go to the commissioner and see what happens.
With the 5th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama.
Well, there it is, which means for the first time since Kellen Moore, who is now the Cowboys offensive coordinator, threw a pass, we're going to have a left-hander who's going to throw a pass in the NFL, provided, of course, that Tua is healthy and ready to go when the season starts. But it's not just about the fractured hip and the dislocated hip. As you can see, Tua has dealt with a lot of injuries over his time at Alabama. A sprained knee, a left quad, a left ankle, a broken index finger. He's had spiral surgeries on both of his ankles. And then, of course, in November of 2019 on this play against Mississippi State, the dislocation and the fracture of the hip that sent Tua's draft status into doubt. But I guess the medicals came back as clean as everybody was saying they were going to be. Kurt Warner, you see him going through that, 9-minute and 20-second workout that he sent out to all the teams. Kurt, I guess the Dolphins liked what they saw.
Well, no question about it. It's interesting, Trey, that when he suffered this injury, a lot of people going into the draft thought, well, he's going to have a redshirt year anyways. Even if we draft him, we're going to sit him for a year. I think when people saw that workout, they said to themselves, well, maybe not. He looks really good. He looks explosive. Those are things that he was built on in college. The quickness of his feet, the ability to redirect his feet, to buy time in the pocket. I think we all loved what we saw in that video. But Mel, it's still a big question. What will Miami do with him? Will they try to rush him onto the field, or will they give him a year to get healthy?
Yeah, Kurt, I really believe he needs the medically red shirt, let that body heal. But he's got to be more aware in the pocket and obviously stay away from trouble. He's got tremendous feel for throwing the football. Throws through progression, so anticipatory a thrower. And the thing about him is he's not accurate. He's precise. He's a dart thrower. So I said what all said. Left-handed Drew Brees. They had passed on Drew Brees because of an injury. Now Nick Saban's quarterback, Tua, injured. They don't pass on him. They take him. Now they got to think they got to sit him for a year, build that offensive line up, and get ready for 2021.
And Mel, it's interesting when you look at this division now. Tom Brady no longer there. It is wide open. The Bills got their quarterback with Josh Allen. The Jets have their quarterback in Sam Darnold. And now the Miami Dolphins have their young quarterback to build the rest of their roster around. There was a lot of talk about them potentially taking a tackle here. But you don't move on from an all-pro tackle and all-pro safety so you can go out and take more tackles and safeties. You did all of that so you could continue to build this program. It starts with the quarterback. That's where they went.
Lewis, what do you think?
With Tua Tagovailoa, I mean, there's just so many things to like, Trey, about him. And I'm glad that they wound up feeling comfortable taking him because he has so many traits that really transfer very well to the NFL. And just take a look at him. First and foremost, the touch on the deep ball that we talked about earlier, looking off the middle of the field, safety, and then just throwing an absolute beautiful touch pass down the sideline to Devontae Smith for the touchdown. And you see Steve Young, again, we saw this earlier, but look, he throws the absolute perfect ball to Jerry Rice there in the corner of the end zone. But don't underestimate Tua's arm. He can throw the ball with velocity here on the RPO, just throwing the dart on the quick slant over the middle of the field. Mark Brunell, again, a left-hander who could throw the ball the same way. Here throwing it to one of the best wide receivers in the NFL at the time, Jimmy Smith. And then throwing on the move. I think this right here is beautiful. Step up in the pocket, escape to the left, and throw the sail route to Jerry Jeudy there on the sideline. Nobody was better at doing that than Steve Young, who was one of the best athletes to ever play quarterback in the NFL, and Mark Brunell. So these two guys, I mean, look, they hit a home run right here. I'm glad they wound up taking him.
All right, Lewis, thanks very much. So, again, left-handers, here's what we're talking about. Boomer Esiason leads the way with most left-handed touchdowns. But the legend of Tua is a real thing. Lane Kiffin, when he was with Bama, went out there to scout him. And as soon as he saw the kid play, he said, I found the next Steve Young. He threw as a 13-year-old, he got into a live practice, and his first throw for his high school team was a 70-yard touchdown. For more on this, let's go back to one of our insiders, Chris Mortensen. Hey, Mort.
Hey, Trey, yes, and it was the Dolphins, as we mentioned in an earlier show, who were able to choose the independent doctor, hip specialist, who did the medical recheck on Tua recently, and that was Dr. Thomas Hyde in Nashville, Tennessee, where Tua was working out and rehabbing. And he said, and he told our medical analyst, Stefania Bellis, that his CT scans were pristine on the hips and as good as he's seen as anybody who's had this trauma. And I will say this, I think Nick Saban's words, not just about Tua, but about what they happened to Drew Brees when they failed him on a physical when Saban was the coach of Miami. I think it resonated with owner Stephen Ross, and there's no question the owner, Stephen Ross, had to sign off on this.
Yeah, absolutely. We heard there might have been a split. Some in the organization like Justin Herbert out of Oregon, but at the end, Tua Tagovailoa, the talent was too much to pass up. So now that leads us to the 6th pick, which is the Los Angeles Chargers. They are also in need of a quarterback. So will we see quarterbacks come off the board? Well, we take a look at quarterbacks dropping in the draft. All right, that was the Pizza Hut moment there. We appreciate the draft moment from them about quarterbacks going. Mel, what are we thinking here with the Chargers? Does it have to be a quarterback?
Well, Justin Herbert looks awfully good. Tyrod Taylor's there. You obviously have offensive tackle Jedrick Wills and Tristan Wirfs there that can come in and be right tackle starters immediately. But I think Justin Herbert at quarterback Oregon, he nailed the draft process. He's got to go somewhere in this area. And if he doesn't go here, then you get into that no man's land we've always talked about.
Yeah, listen, the two teams that were at the top of the draft that were desperate in need of quarterbacks were the Miami Dolphins and the Chargers behind it. You mentioned they lost out on the Tom Brady sweepstakes. Phillip Rivers is now a member of the Indianapolis Colts. They need something to build a franchise around as they move into that brand new stadium in Los Angeles with the Rams, and getting a quarterback early in the round or in the first round would certainly be something that they could hang their hat on for the franchise. The pick is in, so let's find out what the Chargers are doing at 6.
With the 6th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Justin Herbert, quarterback, Oregon.
And there you see the reaction in Eugene. One thing you won't have to worry about when you're talking about Justin Herbert, his ability to understand the playbook. He carried a GPA of over 4 while earning a general science degree with a focus in biology. I think picking up naked blitzes might not be a problem. Amazing story for him. He came on as a 6th stringer and slowly but surely worked his way up the draft chart and the quarterback chart at Oregon. He has a lot of family history. He is a kid from Eugene, Justin Herbert, and a lot of Ducks in his background. Grandfather Roger ran track at Oregon State. His other grandfather, Rich, played football at Oregon. His father, Mark, played at Montana for the Grizzlies, football and track. His brother played at Montana State, a football player there. Patrick also played at Oregon. And then there's Justin. Played basketball, baseball, and football in high school. And, of course, Justin Herbert wearing a Joey Harrington jersey. And now Justin Herbert, another one of the Oregon quarterbacks going high in the draft. NFL Network's Kurt Warner. Kurt, what do you think about Justin Herbert?
Well, there's a lot to like about Justin Herbert, Trey, is that we've seen the big arm. We've seen the ability to push the ball down the field. He's got athleticism where he can work outside the pocket. So I love the mix. You know, when you're a top 10 pick, you usually go to a team that's rebuilding. He gets to throw to Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. He's got Austin Eckler in the backfield. I mean, he's got a good group of guys to build around. My biggest question with him, Mel, is getting the ball out quick. A lot of things that he threw, he seemed very measured, and he wasn't able to get the ball out quick. Can he do that at the next level is my biggest question, Mel.
I'm with you, Kurt. He was streaky, and he made some head scratchers. He gets them down to the 35-yard line late against Auburn, then air mails it out of the end zone, doesn't even give his receiver a chance. Then in the Utah game, he had 7 straight incompletions late in the year, but he won those games, and then he finished strong, and he had that really good Senior Bowl week, and that was the key. I think players gravitated to him down in Mobile. Everybody said, well, he's not that big-time leader. Well, he showed it there. The Combine, the same thing. He did have a pro day, which was very impressive. Oregon didn't have a ton of talent around them, and when he got out of that offense, he went down to Mobile. He took to it really well, and I think that's what I think sealed the deal for him. Not just being a talent, but a kid that can prosper and flourish in the NFL, Trey.
Yeah, listen, everyone talks about what an introvert he is, but a lot of introverts have done very successful things. So we've had 3 quarterbacks go off the board. This is the 3rd time in the common draft era, going back to 67, that 3 quarterbacks have taken in the first 6 picks. Happy times all the way around in Eugene as the draft continues.
You're watching the 2020 NFL Draft, presented by Lowe's.
Since I was drafted, Carolina's been my home, and I've been so inspired by the heroes I've seen in the past few weeks. I recently launched 22andU to support healthcare workers throughout the Carolinas and my hometown of Denver. My partners at Lowe's Home Improvement jumped in to help me launch the program, and I want to say thank you to them and everyone's hard work on the front lines. Lowe's 300,000 associates are working hard to keep our homes working for us, because home is what unites us. Be safe and keep pounding.
That's Christian McCaffrey there. On April 2nd, Christian McCaffrey launched his own new initiative, 22andU, a fund that supports frontline medical workers battling the pandemic in Carolina. Glad you're with us for what is a really fun draft, the first virtual draft. And here we are in the Bud Light Seltzer virtual huddle. Teams have merged and come together. We have our regular gang of Lewis, Booger, and Mel Kiper Jr. from ESPN, and delighted to be collaborating with the good folks from the NFL Network this year, Daniel Jeremiah, and Hall of Famers in Michael Irvin and Kurt Warner. There is Matt Rule, the former Baylor head coach. He rebuilt Temple when he was there. He rebuilt Baylor in a short time when he was there, and now it's his job to rebuild the Carolina Panthers. One of the first things they did, signed Christian McCaffrey, who we just heard from, to that long-term deal. But Greg Olsen is out. He's in Seattle. Cam Newton, the quarterback, the #1 pick in 2011. He's looking for a job. It is a new Carolina Panthers team, and where are they going? The pick is in 7th overall. Let's find out from Commissioner Roger Goodell.
Let's go, guys. Come on, Panther fans. With the 7th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Derek Brown, defensive tackle, Auburn.
Well, there you see Derek Brown. His teammates called him Baby Barack. One of his teammates, Marlon Davidson, referred to him as Channel 5 reporting live because he knew something about everything. He is exactly who you want your player to be, both on and off the field. He has political aspirations. He actually wants to be a lobbyist. That's why he called Baby Barack. His father, James, served in the Army and the National Guard and is now working with the local police department. And he said, I'm a man who starts what he finishes, and that's why he came back for his senior year. Now we recognize Auburn defensive tackle Derek Brown's connection to our armed forces in the Salute to Service moment presented by USAA. For Derek, mediocrity was just not acceptable. His father, James, instilled a strong work ethic in his life. James served in the U.S. Army from 92 to 96. He was stationed overseas in Italy with the 3rd 325th Parachute Infantry Regime. James also served in the U.S. Army National Guard from 96 to 2000s. And Derek's lifelong friend, Ashton Barnes, was a running back at Air Force. He says Derek always wanted to be involved and help make other people's lives better. Mel, he certainly had an impact on everybody he played with and went to school with at Auburn. He was the president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. What are we getting on the field from Baby Barack?
Boy, went back for his senior year to get better technically. And I think you look at Isaiah Simmons, outside linebacker, Clemson was probably tempting, but Derek Brown, consistent production gave him the edge over Javon Kinlaw. South Carolina is the first defensive tackle off the board. How did he do against the big games, against the top-level opponents? Texas A&M, I was impressed. Florida, Alabama, he had 7 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss against the quality opponents. LSU, he's 7 tackles, 2 for loss. That's the difference in Derek Brown over Javon Kinlaw, in my opinion, DJ, was the consistency week in and week out.
Yeah, Mel, to me, when I watched him, the thing that jumped out to me, I thought he played with tremendous effort in every game that I watched. I saw him pursuing plays all the way across the field. He can really reset the line of scrimmage with his power. And I was fascinated to see what Matt Rule would do with this decision. His first pick, would he go Isaiah Simmons to get some speed and athleticism at the second level? He decided to go with a defensive lineman who can generate some of that interior pocket push inside the division where you're going to have going up against Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Matt Ryan. So fascinating choice there. I love Derek Brown, Boog.
Yeah, DJ, I love him too. You know, K1 Short was hurt last year. Gerald McCoy is now gone. You need that guy inside to push the pocket. They drafted Brian Burns from Florida State, who's going to turn the corner. Derek Brown is a perfect fit of a guy that can control the middle of the field, push the pocket, and he plays sideline to sideline just the way I like him, Lewis.
Yeah, look, he is a high-effort player for such a big man. Look, him and Javon Kinlaw are both in that mold. Look, when you think about the Carolina Panthers, the fact that they lost Gerald McCoy, no Vernon Butler, they need some beef in the interior. And look, there's an argument made for inside players over outside players when you're talking about pass rushers, since they have the shortest distance to go to the quarterback, and quarterbacks hate pressure in their face. There's no question that they need edge rush to go with Brian Burns as well, but there's no one worth drafting this high that could truly be a 4-3, put your hand on the ground, rush the passer. So, look, Derek Brown's one of the most powerful, explosive players in this draft. Matt Rule said he likes positionless players. You'll see Derek Brown all up and down the line of scrimmage. And I'll tell you this, the NFC South better get ready, because big number 5 from Auburn, he's the real deal.
He certainly is. By the way, defensive coordinator at Auburn, Kevin Steele, said of Derek Brown, I was at Tennessee when Reggie White was there and at Alabama when Marcel Darius was there. That's the kind of player he is. Meanwhile, the pick is in for the Arizona Cardinals. Let's check it out.
All right, let's go. With the 8th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Isaiah Simmons, linebacker, Clemson.
Well, it is hard to fault anybody picking Isaiah Simmons. If you just listen to Dabo Swinney, his college head coach, he said he's just a beautiful football player. He checks all the boxes. In fact, he checks some boxes that don't even exist. Not bad for a kid who was only a 3-star recruit out of high school in Olathe, Kansas. But he did a little bit of everything, and it wasn't until Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator, went back to his home area of Kansas that he stumbled upon Isaiah Simmons, who was nicknamed Isaiah Slimmons when he was in high school. He did a little bit of everything. Here he is running with his running back on Clemson, Travis Etienne, and that's a dead heat. And the time he put in at the combine was absolutely spectacular. And we take a look at where Isaiah Simmons plays. When you ask Isaiah Simmons what position he plays, he says defense, because he plays slot corner. He plays outside linebacker. He plays corner, inside linebacker. He plays safety. Daniel Jeremiah, he might be a true positionless defender in today's NFL.
It's very true, Trey. I got a chance to see Derwin James doing the Charger games for the last couple of years, and you'll see him used in different ways on a week-by-week basis. And I think we're going to see Isaiah Simmons in that exact same way, because he can do so many different things. One week he might be lined up and covering George Kittle. The next week you might use him as a spy on Russell Wilson. You can blitz him from off the edge. You can even play him in the deep middle third. This guy can do so many different things for a creative coordinator. He's an outstanding prospect, Boog.
Yeah, DJ, he's a great prospect. You know, I talked to several defensive coordinators, and while they love the idea of a positionless player, they can line him up at safety and corner, they said really, really simple. When you draft a guy this high, you want him in your front seven where he can impact the football game. So I look for Isaiah Simmons to line up in the front seven, outside linebacker, maybe inside linebacker. He's going to blitz. He's going to come downhill. They're going to put him in a position, Lewis, where he can affect the football game every single down.
Yeah, it's interesting, DJ, that you said Derwin James. Look, I watched some tape on him and said, look, this is a guy who can come down in the box, he can go out on the perimeter and cover, and then he's a guy who can play in the middle of the field. When you have positionless players like that against multiple personnel grouping offenses, that's what gives you an advantage, or rather at least gives you a chance to compete against the high-flying offenses in the NFL. This was too easy of a pick for them to make with him falling into their lap like this.
Well, he's ridiculous. His 40 time at the Combine was 4.39 at 238 pounds, and he is moving in the desert now.
The 2020 NFL Draft, presented by Lowe's.
Say thank you to all the doctors and nurses.
We know that y'all on the front lines and we're thinking about you.
I can't thank you guys enough and gals for all your sacrifices.
We appreciate and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. It's all love.
Man, just know we depend on y'all, and y'all gonna help us get through this.
We're gonna get through this sooner or later.
And we're all going through this together, and we'll all get through this together.
Stay strong.
And everyone, please stay safe.
Well, look, we are all in this together. Please help us make a difference now. Huddle up for COVID-19 relief efforts and join players, teams, fans, and communities around the country in the NFL Draft-a-thon, and let's give them those high hopes. If we unite behind this cause, we can provide relief for those affected. Visit NFL.com relief to donate now, and visit NFL.com shop.com tonight for official 2020 draft gear, caps, jerseys, and more, all ship free. Also, the NFL is currently providing free complimentary access to NFL Game Pass. Sign up now and you can watch full game broadcasts from previous seasons, Super Bowl classics, old episodes, and a show like A Football Life and Hard Knocks and the All 22 Coaches film. Go to NFL.com/Game Pass for more information. As we are moving at warp speed through the first round of this draft, and this is, we thought, something that might happen because of the virtual reality, and we are already in with the Jacksonville Jaguars pick at number 9. Let's go to the commissioner.
Come on, keep it up. With the 9th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select C.J. Henderson, defensive back, Florida.
Well, there you see C.J. Henderson getting the phone call and realizing he is not going to go far away from where he played his college ball at the University of Florida. His hometown's in Miami. He played running back in high school. In fact, his high school coach said, I could have put him at guard, and he would have been just fine. He received scholarship offers from a bunch of places, and last year was first-team All-SEC. Mel, tell us a little bit about C.J. Henderson, who really broke out this year.
He had that ankle injury early on. It kind of pampered him a little bit, Trey, but he is a talented cover corner. That's where he's going to make the money in the NFL. He's going to be asked to shut down receivers. Tackling has to improve. He's got to be a little more aggressive. Tackle. You can't play with 10 men in the NFL. You got to tackle on those receivers after the catch and support the run. But in coverage, 6 interceptions in his career, 22 pass breakups. Even this past season, Lewis, when he had the injury with the ankle, he still finished tops on a team with 11 pass breakups. Lewis, his forte is coverage ability. That's what you're looking for in the NFL.
No question about it. And look, the Jacksonville Jaguars no longer have Jalen Ramsey. They no longer have A.J. Bouye. And I can tell you this, C.J. Henderson is one of those types of guys. He's the kind of guy who can match up with your best wide receiver, and he will shadow him all over the field. And he did that this year. He followed Jamar Chase on just about every snap that he could when they played LSU. And he is a guy who's proficient playing both in press and in off. He has the feet to line up in press and shadow you at the line of scrimmage and then run with you downfield. He has the feet and the hips and the eyes to play from off. and play all the different coverage packages that you want to play when you back off. He just needs to be more consistent at the catch point, but he is a guy who is supremely talented and fits the mold of the kind of cornerbacks that have played in Jacksonville.
Well, there you see happiness all the way around. And just so you know, obviously it makes a lot of sense because the Jaguars moved on from Jalen Ramsey last year. They clearly needed help at the cornerback position. His defensive coordinator in Florida, Todd Grantham, in 30 years of coaching both in the college and the NFL, said he's the best cornerback I've ever seen. All right, now we're at the 10th pick. Introducing the Browns pick is St. Jude patient Fletcher Rollison. Fletcher was diagnosed with a rare brain tumor, and his family turned to St. Jude. He had the tumor removed and completed his treatment at home, and he now joins us from his home.
Hello, NFL fans, and a special shout-out to Browns Nation. I am so excited to help introduce the first-round draft pick for my hometown, Cleveland Browns. The wait is finally over. Thank you to the NFL for your support of St. Jude. While my journey with cancer has been hard, I cannot say enough about St. Jude. The doctors and staff are amazing, and they have taken such good care of me. And now back to you for the Browns pick. Go Browns!
Good. You can come back down. Thank you, Fletcher. We are so happy to see that you're home and doing well. We're very proud to support you and St. Jude in the fight to end childhood cancer. And we're all in your corner, Fletcher. Go get them. So I have the Browns pick. With the 10th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Jedrick Wills, tackle, Alabama. I hope you like it, Fletcher.
Well, not a surprise that they go offensive line. Jedrick Wills is off the board. Tua Tagovailoa called him the alpha male in the offensive line group for Alabama. And remember, Jonah Williams was the 11th pick last year for the Cincinnati Bengals at left tackle. A lot of people studying his tape kept looking at the right tackle saying, who is this guy at the right tackle? It's Jedrick Wills. And Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network. Remember, they got Jack Conklin in free agency. So now Baker Mayfield has potential bookend tackles to protect Baker Mayfield. What do we think about Jedrick Wills?
Well, I think he's going to be the one making the move over to the left side with the Cleveland Browns. You'll keep Jack Conklin at right tackle because Jedrick Wills has the athleticism to be able to match up with the speed elite rushers he's going to see on that left side without any help from a tight end. He's outstanding knee bender. He can really roll his hips on contact in the run game. He's outstanding when he works up to the second level, but the Browns did not draft him for that. They drafted him for what he could do as a pass protector to help keep Baker Mayfield upright so they can get a fair evaluation on him going into the future. Mel, I don't know where you are, but for me, I thought day one as an NFL starter, Jedrick Wills was better equipped than any other tackle in this draft.
Yeah, I thought they were going to go that route early on. I think about where the Giants went with Andrew Thomas. Jedrick Wills, a right tackle, but he will be a left tackle, and he'll get the job done. He was outstanding in pass protection, only allowed 1 sack and 3.5 hurries all year at that right tackle spot. And he keyed that running game as well for Alabama. You think about Arizona, it takes Isaiah Simmons. Kyler Murray was hit a lot, so that was a little bit of a surprise that Simmons is there. They pass on the offensive tackle, allowing Wills to get down this far to the Cleveland Browns.
Mel, thank you. He got his good feet from his mom who played college hoops, but no surprise that we have an offensive lineman from Alabama being drafted. He's the 7th offensive lineman from Bama drafted under Nick Saban, including, as I said, last year, Jonah Williams going 11th to Cincinnati. It's his job to protect Joe Burrow. It's now Will's job to protect the also former #1 overall pick. We are all in this together. Help us make a difference now. Huddle up for COVID-19 relief efforts and join players, teams, fans, and communities around the country in the NFL Draft-a-thon. If we unite behind the cause, we can provide relief for those significantly impacted by the pandemic. Every dollar counts. Visit NFL.com/relief to donate now. As we continue to work our way through the first round, we take a look at Mel's best available, brought to you by Lowe's. Mel.
See, Jerry Jeudy, no receiver has come off the board yet. And there's Javon Kinlaw, a grade similar to Derek Brown, but not like Brown because of the lack of consistency. And Xavier McKinney, all he is a heck of a safety. And Michael, the playmaker, the wide receivers are still there. Who do you like, and who do you see maybe taking one of those wideouts first?
Well, Mel, I'm glad we're getting to the best part of this draft, and I talked about it earlier. It's the diversity we have in these wide receivers, and I love Jerry Jeudy. He's such a great guy inside and plays in that slot. I love how he, what I call, gives you that stanky leg and takes it right back when he's running with the football. But CeeDee Lamb, he does everything. People liken him to a Dez Bryant, a guy that can go up and get the ball, but he also can run the whole route tree. Or do you just want pure speed? And that's Ruggs the third. This guy can run with anybody and everybody, kind of give you a Tyreek Hill kind of player.
All right, listen, we appreciate that. It's somewhat surprising, by the way, guys. We haven't had a trade yet. The last time we didn't have a trade in the top 10 picks, as we look at Henry Ruggs, waiting to hear his name called. Last time we haven't had a trade this late in the first round was 2015. The first trade came around pick 15 that year, so we'll see what happens. But Henry Ruggs, again, a speedster, and waiting for his name to be called, as is CeeDee Lamb, and again, also a big play waiting to happen. And then there's Jerry Jeudy. These are the receivers, and once they start to go, it could be they go on a run. Will they go here with the Jets?
Come on. With the 11th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Mekhi Becton, tackle, Louisville.
So the run on receivers is going to have to wait, but Mekhi Becton, ladies and gentlemen, human beings that large should not run as fast as Mekhi Becton did. At the Combine, 364 pounds, ran the 40 in 5.1. According to ESPN Stats and Information, that's the heaviest player ever to run a sub-5 140. And if you like people just abusing other humans, the Mekhi Becton tape is for you. Why is he so big? Well, his mother is a caterer who specializes in soul food. And as you can see, Mekhi specialized in what his mom specialized in. In fact, he can do a little bit of everything. He has incredible feet. He was an amazing high school basketball player. And then we talked about the Combine as you see him moving in the pivot. But back to the Combine. You've got to see him run. It is absolutely incredible. Again, 6'7", 364 pounds, and he crossed the line at 5'1". Lewis, this is a guy who came to Louisville a little out of shape, but they worked on him, and then he's been working on people ever since.
Yeah, look, he is a tremendous athlete for his size, as you've alluded to. And when you get to see that is when they run some of their zone schemes, their inside and outside zones. This guy at 6'7", 350 pounds looks like he's about 290 pounds. Tremendous athleticism and quickness, and then the power to just take defensive ends and just toss them on the ground. And if he gets up to the second level on linebackers, it's really all over, Booger.
Well, without a doubt, and to me, this is a great pick. We know how big he is. Reminds me a lot of Trent Brown with the way he's able to move at that size. But to me, this is all about Sam Darnold. You need a left tackle. You need to protect your franchise quarterback. And now the New York Jets have a guy that they can put out there, and Sam Darnold can know that his backside is protected.
Well, Boog, I tell you what, I think they got the best tackle in the draft in Mekhi Becton, and somebody that when you watch how hard he's been working through this process, I know there was some concern about his weight. There's Joe Douglas there celebrating with the New York Jets with his family. I know there was some concern about his weight. I actually texted with his trainer yesterday and said, I need a proof of weight video. So he got him on the scale and showed me he weighed 363 as of yesterday morning. So he's been able to control his weight. He's been working really hard, even some of it in unconventional fashion, as you see right here. Go get you a big truck and start driving it. And that's what he does against everybody you watched him on tape for Louisville this fall. This is a giant of a man. This is Mount Becton, who's been brought in to protect Sam Darnold. And I can promise you Le'Veon Bell's going to be a big fan as well.
DJ, I want to read something to you that you talk about where he's come from by his strength coach at Louisville. He said when we got him, he was about 390 pounds, and he couldn't make it through warm-ups. It was gross. We knew he had potential, but over the next 7 months, he worked his bleep off, and now you see what he's become. He is an amazing story. So we'll see what happens here. And now we're taking a look at the first of 2 picks in the first round by the Raiders. Again, we were supposed to be there celebrating the potential of the Raiders moving to Vegas in 2020. And there you see their bright, new, shiny Allegiant Stadium. But the pandemic has forced us and so many others to dramatically alter our plans. We're here sharing a message of hope and some of the iconic stars of Las Vegas. There you see John Gruden. Knock on wood if you're with me, John. Knock on wood if you're with me. And there's Mike Mayock, who spent a lot of years analyzing this draft, taken up here. So let's go back to Daniel Jeremiah. Jeremiah, what are you thinking about what the Raiders may do with the first of their 2 picks here?
Well, I thought it would be their corner receiver here, and I think with C.J. Henderson already being selected, I would think that points towards a wide receiver. They need to find a Z receiver to replace Antonio Brown. They were so excited about that pick, and obviously bringing him into the building did not work. I think they find his replacement right here, and I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb would be my guess here for the Raiders.
All right, Daniel Jeremiah is in on CeeDee Lamb going to the Raiders. We'll see what happens here. We believe that the pick is close to coming in. In fact, I can confirm that the pick is in to Commissioner Goodell. Let's find out. Does Daniel Jeremiah know what he's talking about? I mean, he does, but you know.
There are many first-evers that are part of this draft, including the first-ever official draft selection by the Las Vegas Raiders. And I've got it right here. So with the 12th pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Henry Ruggs, wide receiver, Alabama. Congratulations, Raiders. Congratulations, Henry.
Well, there you see Henry Ruggs. Daniel, you nailed the position, but not the player. Henry Ruggs is a fascinating football player. Just so you know, he had 98 catches at Alabama. 24 of them went for touchdowns. In other words, 25% of the time when he caught the ball, he took it to the house. And when he celebrated those touchdowns, you always saw him throw up 3 fingers. That was for his friend, Roderick Scott. They played high school basketball together. And one weekend they were supposed to drive in the same car to a high school tournament. Ruggs was feeling under the weather, had the flu, didn't go. Scott was in a one-man car crash on the highway that trip and was killed in that crash. And Henry Ruggs celebrates his honor throwing up that 3 every time you see him score a touchdown. John Gruden, very happy that he's got the burner that ran the 4.27, as is Mike Mayock. Hi, Mike. Make sure the dog is taken care of. But if you want to talk about an athlete, my God, watch what Henry Ruggs does playing basketball. It was absolutely a rim obliteration. He was jumping from everywhere to throw it down at Robert Lee High School. So you know he can play hoops. You know he can fly. His mom once unofficially was clocked at a 4.23 40. He can absolutely scoot, Michael Irvin, and he can take it to the house no matter where he gets the ball.
Yeah, and we knew, Trey, that this was a possibility because of that 4.27 speed. And let's remember now, the Raiders, what do they have to do? They have to face that thing they have in Kansas City with Tyreek Hill. So they wanted to match speed for speed. They wanted to match explosion for explosion. When they score, when Kansas City score, now the Raiders will be able to come right back and score fast. This kid can run fast, but he also goes up high and grab that ball, just like you saw him dunking the basketball.
You know, one thing about Ruggs, Michael, you talk about that speed. He didn't have the drops, and I think the production wasn't up to the level of Jerry Jeudy. But you talk about 4 first-round receivers that Tua was throwing to. Ruggs, and obviously this year Jerry Jeudy, and then next year Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. So a lot of talent, only one football. Ruggs, though, with that speed. I'm sure John Gruden with the Raiders. Cliff Branch had a heck of a career in the NFL with that kind of speed and that kind of ability to go vertical and beat you deep. And that's what Henry Ruggs III will be asked to do with the Las Vegas Raiders. Lewis?
The interesting thing about Henry Ruggs is this. He's just not a deep threat. What he really is, he's a catch-and-run threat. And they did a great job at Alabama of doing that, getting him the ball quick and then letting him absolutely just slice through the defense and have those tremendous, tremendous run and catch type situations. He's a guy who will catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a guy who can play all three positions on the wide receiver. And he's a guy who, DJ, I think the number one thing that he really can do is he can also give you some reps on special teams if you needed him to. But getting drafted this high, I have a feeling he won't see very much action on that phase of the game.
And look, Lewis, talking to Mike Mayock this week, he talked about Josh Jacobs running for over 1,100 yards into crowded boxes last year. You put Henry Ruggs on this field, you're going to scare safeties out of there. You're going to have a lot more room for Josh Jacobs to run. And also add Darren Waller at tight end. He ran in the mid-4.4s. Now you've got Henry Ruggs who ran in the mid-4.2s. This Raider team got fast real quick.
Can we all just take a moment to acknowledge what we're seeing here? Michael Irvin, you of all people have to appreciate this. Henry Ruggs is swagging out in a robe. He's just chilling in a robe. Michael, that's what you wore in the pre-draft meeting.
Yeah, and that tells you something about that wide receiver right there. He's letting you know. Big plays, touchdown, he's right at home with that. That's why he's wearing his robes. He's making a statement early, and the Raiders hope that he can make that statement late when he gets on the football field.
Listen, I knew you would appreciate the robe, Michael. Just so you know, from 1985 to 2010, no Alabama wide receivers were taken in the first round. And now we've gotten 4 in the last 5 years. And quite frankly, I'm going to make a pretty safe bet that we're going to get a 5th one in Jerry Jeudy coming off the board at some time in this first round. But for more on all of this, let's check in with our fine ESPN insider, Adam Schefter. Hey, Adam.
Trey, we are 12 picks into this draft, and we have yet to see a single trade. Not one team has traded out of its draft slot. We had Detroit at number 3 taking calls, but no team ever made an offer for them. Miami didn't make an offer. The Chargers didn't make an offer. Same thing with the Giants at number 4. We thought there would be other teams that would move. No one did in the top 10 picks for the first time since 2015. We're now at a pick right now where the 49ers are going to trade. They're going to trade with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady's Bucs are moving up one slot to come up in this draft. There's still a tackle on the board to get Tom Brady more protection. That would be a logical pick for Tampa Bay to make, with Tampa Bay coming up to get that pick. And that's the trade. Tampa to 13.
All right, Adam, thanks very much. Guys, let's talk about this here for a second, because obviously Tampa Bay has plenty of weapons. They just signed Rob Gronkowski. He's going to be there ready to roll. It is protection, right? They gave up 47 sacks last year, Louis Riddick. I get it. Some of those were because Jameson hung on to the ball too long, but we've already seen a couple of tackles go off the board. It's understandable why they might get a little nervous thinking their guy might not be there.
Yeah, look, there's no question about it. They have to make sure that, particularly at right tackle, that they take care of that position for Tom Brady. Look, everything else is set for them on offense, except for maybe they could use another running back as well. But they have the perimeter weapons. They have the guys who can attack the middle of the field. They're pretty set at guard and center. They just need to take care of that right tackle position, and you would assume that they're going to try and solidify it here.
All right, so who's the best one left, Mel? We've seen Becton go off the board. We've seen Wills go off the board. Somewhat surprisingly, we've seen Andrew Thomas. Is it Tristan Wirfs here for you, Mel?
It would be Tristan Wirfs. Of course, a right tackle at Iowa, but he did play left tackle when Alaric Jackson was hurt. Obviously, still needs a little work for his freakish talent that he is. There are times where he needs to pay a little more attention to detail, but Tristan Wirfs, upside for Wirfs, I think, was through the roof. And obviously, the left tackle spot, he's got the ability to do. I thought he more than held his own where he was forced over to left tackle when Jackson was hurt. But as a right tackle, he has a chance to be really good once he's coached up in the NFL. And obviously, Kirk Ferentz, that's his specialty at Iowa. He got worse to this level. Now he needs to step it up another notch to become a Pro Bowl caliber player protecting Tom Brady.
By the way, is that the most perfect picture you see from Bruce Arians right there, the Buccaneers head coach? Everybody else is inside. He's chilling on his back porch, just, enjoying the weather in Tampa. Bruce Arians seems very comfortable in being Bruce Arians right now. So, again, is there anybody else? It was somewhat a surprise, as you see Jason Light there, the general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, by the way, was part of the scouting department for New England when they picked Tom Brady, 199th overall in the 6th round in that draft in 2000. Is there anybody else Lewis, from your perspective, that would match up with what we're talking about with Wirfs here? Is there anybody that they could pick, if it is offensive line, that you could understand if it wasn't Wirfs?
No, not really. I mean, he's the logical choice here because when you think about where you're picking at right here, look, there aren't any more slam dunks in the NFL and in the NFL draft anyway. But really, when you're picking where they're picking right now, you're really looking for the guy who's sticking out on your board. And Tristan Wirfs is one of those interchangeable guys as far as being able to go from the left side to the right side. He did it in the course of games, and there's no question that down here at this pick, this is the best player that's available for them at a position that they need. It's probably a slam dunk for him.
Lewis, thanks. Before we announce this next selection, we have some very special guests out of Tampa Bay from the air base in Qatar.
Hey, NFL fans. I'm Staff Sergeant Bethany LaVille, currently deployed to Al Udeid Air Base, Qatar. And we're happy to be a part of this year's NFL Draft. Let's see who gets to wear the Buccaneers uniform. Throwing it to you, Lieutenant Colonel Caldwell. Go Bucks!
Hey, NFL fans. We're the airmen from the 28th Expeditionary Air Refueling Squadron stationed out of MacDill Air Force Base, Tampa Bay, and currently deployed to Al Udeid Air Base, Qatar. We are proud to represent Tampa Bay and our home team, the Buccaneers. Now back to you, Commissioner Goodell. Go Bucks!
The pick is in.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Caldwell, and thank you to all of our service members for your courage and sacrifice on behalf of our country. The San Francisco 49ers have traded the 13th pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With the 13th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Tristan Wirfs, tackle, Iowa.
Well, now we're seeing this run on offensive linemen, and as you see Tristan Wirfs there getting the phone call right there and a little bit of thumbs up. Another freakish athlete. He's 6'3", 322 pounds, ran a 4.85 40. He was raised by his single mother, Sarah, and he was going to walk with her down the red carpet in Las Vegas. That didn't happen, so he brought the red carpet to her. This was this afternoon. By the way, can we just take a moment to honor the mom's t-shirt that she's wearing? Respect. And then respect that Tristan Wirfs has for his mother, walking her down the red carpet, and they are in this thing together, and Tristan Wirfs' job is now going to be protecting Tom Brady. But this is a guy who was a state wrestling champion. By the way, had to shed some 37 pounds to get down to the 285 minimum. He also won the Drake relays as a senior in both the shot put and the discus. He won the discus title 3 times and the shot put twice. He also set a hang clean record at Iowa. And if you know anything about the strength program at Iowa, that is something people take very seriously. And oh, by the way, explosive? Yeah. And if you're a visual learner, this will help you see how explosive he is. Tristan, jump out of the pool for us if you don't mind. That's 320 plus pounds jumping out of the pool, about 3.5, 4 feet of water, and sticking the landing. Mel, he's an athlete. What do you see when this athlete is on the field?
Well, I'll tell you what, he was impressive at right tackle. Like I said, he held his own at left tackle. The thing is, with his size, he can manhandle people at the line of scrimmage. You talk about impressive when he plays with proper leverage. That's the key with Wirfs. Proper leverage. Sustaining at times is an issue. Pass protection, quick feet you look for, good technique. See the punch move. Balance at times is a little bit of an issue as well. As I say, Kirk Ferentz coaches them up. Now in the NFL, you need to step it up as well if you're Tristan Wirfs and maximize all that awesome athletic and physical talent he brings to the table. Obviously, I didn't think he'd be there at this point, Booger, but he is. And for Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, it's all about making Tom Brady great and keeping him upright and not letting anybody hit him, and that's what Wirfs' job's going to be, Booger.
Without a doubt, Mel, and people talk about this guy being a great athlete for an offensive line. Let me tell you, he's a great athlete for a football player. He ran faster than most tight ends did at the combine. And when you look at how the run game is built today, the zone scheme, you need athletes on the offensive line, whether it's a guard or a tackle. And also, you talk about Tom Brady. You're going to need that guy that has a strong punch. We know Brady is an iron deer in the front lawn. He's not going to move much. You want somebody that has strong hands that can solidify that punch. The Buccaneers got a steal here at this pick with Tristan Wirfs.
Well, again, he's the 5th Iowa offensive lineman to be selected in the first round since 2004. There you see Tristan Wirfs. The draft nervousness is over for him, and Bruce Arians and Jason Light hope they have their guy. Bruce is fired up as we continue with the first round of the draft. Welcome back to the draft as we're taking a look at Kyle Shanahan and company, trying to figure out the draft. And Microsoft Teams is proud to play an important role in the 2020 NFL Draft. Microsoft Teams' official collaboration platform of the NFL. John Lynch is casually comfortable in his setup, the general manager there. And of course, you would be very comfortable too if you were the defending NFC champs with the job they did last season. One of the big moves the San Francisco 49ers did last year was trade late in the season for Emmanuel Sanders, and of course he has moved on to New Orleans. And there was Oklahoma wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. Some consider him to be the best wide receiver in this draft class, but Henry Ruggs was the first to go. And now we're looking at Jerry Jeudy. Our own Todd McShay says Jerry Jeudy is the best route runner at a wide receiver he's seen in all his years of studying film. So could San Francisco be looking here at a wide receiver to replace what they lost in Emmanuel Sanders? Let's go to Michael Irvin here. Michael, what do you think? If it's one of these two, which one do you like better?
Yeah, Trey, and this is what I love, Trey. I talked about the diversity of wide receivers, and you talk about Jerry Jeudy. Remember, Jerry Jeudy does most of his work from the slot. He's about 60% in the slot, scores 7 touchdowns out of his 10 in that slot. It's all about what San Francisco needs right here in this spot, Trey.
All right, we'll see what happens there. And again, you take a look at Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. They're clearly enjoying this virtual draft, I think, more than most people are. But again, San Francisco plays in the toughest division, arguably, in the NFL right now, the NFC West. As we said, they lost Emmanuel Sanders. There are some concerns about offensive line as well. But the pick is in. Let us see what San Francisco did. They moved one slot back so Tampa could move up. Where is San Francisco going?
With the 14th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle, South Carolina.
Well, perhaps another surprise, but Javon Kinlaw is one hell of a football player. His story is also amazing, but what you need to know about him is how he grew up. He split time between his mother and father in Goose Creek, South Carolina, as well as in Washington, D.C., and he spent some of that youth homeless in the nation's capital, where he would ride the metro because either it was colder than it was inside or hotter than it was outside. And he has been a remarkable story, talking about the things that he went through as a kid. He related to that sometimes in Washington, D.C., walking over dead bodies to get to where he lived. Todd McShay said he showed up at the Senior Bowl, didn't even work out, and didn't even play, rather, just went through some drills and made a bunch of money. And there you see the reaction of his father. Javon Kinlaw is now a member of the San Francisco 49ers. His story is absolutely remarkable. Booger, his story is incredible, as is what we saw on the field at South Carolina.
Without a doubt. You talk about the rich getting richer. He reminds me a lot of Richard Seymour. Long, big, and powerful. And the San Francisco 49ers are going to love it. Can he play with leverage? When you're a tall player, you got to be able to play with leverage, extend your arms, control the offensive lineman. He can do it with the best of them. Like one of the guys that I played with a long time ago, Richard Seymour, doing the same thing. Defensive linemen being able to use both hands and control the offensive lineman, they do it well. But this is now a passing league. Can you be a three-down player? Can you rush the passer? Javon Kinlaw showed outstanding pass rush ability and power, especially at the Senior Bowl. Just like Richard Seymour, long arms, long levers. He can do it inside. And dare I say, John Lynch, they traded away DeForest Buckner. Now they get Javon Kinlaw, Mel, and this defensive line is going to be dominant once again.
Boog, talent-wise, 6'5", 324. Remember, he was 340 early on, managed his weight, got it down to 324, played through a hip injury in 2018. This past year, first 5-6 games, he was dominant. Actually, 5 sacks in the first 6 games, only 1 the rest of the way. And that's where Derek Brown, week in and week out, was dominant. Kinlaw had that great start. Then teams adjusted, and he wasn't quite as much of a factor, but he's got incredibly long arms, huge hands, DJ. Physically, if you could draw up a defensive tackle, Javon Kinlaw would be that guy.
Yeah, he reminded me of Marcus Stroud when I watched him, Mel. And this is somebody, when you put on the Georgia game and the Alabama game, the best opponents they played, he was dominant against those quality offensive lines. So that's what jumped out to me. And Lewis, I just add one thing here with this selection. This is outstanding by John Lynch. You trade DeForest Buckner, you get the 13th pick. You trade back to 14, get an extra pick, and you replace DeForest Buckner at the same position with a younger, cheaper player. John Lynch putting that Stanford education to good use.
Without a doubt. Look, it's great value for them. It's smart team building, and they're staying true to who they are, DJ. They're a team that likes to build it front to back, inside out, on the defensive side of the football in particular. And Javon Kinlaw, you're right. When he went up against the best offensive lines in college football, that's when he really raised his level. And it wasn't just at the point of attack. It was chasing people down the field. I remember in that Alabama game just seeing him run downfield and just put haymakers on running backs, catching the ball out of the backfield with his extra effort. That's the kind of thing that epitomizes San Francisco this year, and he's going to fit right in very well.
Well, Dad is feeling it right now for the Kinlaws. And oh, by the way, sometimes things just work out perfectly. Kinlaw actually wanted to go to San Francisco, saying they're just a wonderful group of guys, a talented group that works together. They work together for the same goal, not individual achievements, and that's to get the win at the end of the day. That's something I want to be a part of. Well, guess what, Javon? You are a part of it. Javon Kinlaw, now a San Francisco 49er. We'll be back in 30 seconds after a quick word from Verizon.
If we weren't able to stream anything, I think they'd be lost.
We're all home right now. That's why Verizon is giving you more of the entertainment you want.
Daly is usually watching a TV show, and McKenna is almost always listening to music.
We love Verizon.
So I get the shows I need when I need them.
Now, unlimited plans come with your favorite artists on Apple Music, shows and movies on Disney Plus, and over 70 top channels of live TV with YouTube TV.
Music plays a huge role in our family. That's how we connect.
Plans start at just $35 so your family can mix, match, and save. Shop online today, only at Verizon.
All right, glad you're with us as the first round of the 2020 draft rolls on. The Denver Broncos are sitting here at 15, and we've only had one wide receiver go off the board. John with the power flex right there. Give me all the Super Bowl trophies, put them over there, and make it a wide shot so everybody can see. I mean, I respect it. A good friend of mine said, when you have the opportunity to stunt, and John Elway just did that. Then, of course, there's Vic Fangio waiting to go into his second season as the Broncos head coach. The pick is in for the Denver Broncos. Let's see where the Denver Broncos go.
With the 15th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Alabama. Congratulations, Jerry. Come on, Broncos.
And there you see Jerry Jeudy and family waiting to hear the official news, but it is done. Jerry Jeudy is a Denver Bronco. And again, according to our Todd McShay, maybe one of the best route runners he's ever seen. By the way, real quickly, you see that straight ace his senior year of high school? He was already going on to early admission at Alabama. He was at an all-star high school game, and he got his report card, and one of them was a B+. He said, no, that's wrong. I got the A. The teacher went back and recalculated. Turns out it indeed was correct. Jerry Jeudy was a straight A student, but he has dealt with some tragedy in his life. In November of 2016, Jerry Jeudy's 7-year-old sister, Aaliyah, passed away. Aaliyah was a miracle baby and had suffered health complications since birth. Following her death, Jeudy posted a photo of Aaliyah with an uplifting message. I love you, sis. You're in a better place now. I swear I'm going to make it for you and mommy. R.I.P. Aaliyah. Jerry's daughter, Journey Aaliyah Jeudy, was born on March 27th. And there you see it. Jerry Jeudy going to go work with John Elway, the quarterback there, Drew Lock, Cortland Sutton, the other wide receiver on the side of that ball. Michael Irvin, take us through what you like about Jerry Jeudy's tape.
I love this pick, and I'm telling you, when you hear people talk about how great he is at running routes, that's because he transitions so well in and out of cuts. This guy is incredible at the line of scrimmage. That's the number one thing that he's going to have to work on, is getting off that ball and being able to get deep. He ran a 4.4 at the combine. And Trey, he gets his work done in the slot. I already told you, 60% of the time he was lined up in the slot, and he made 7 touchdowns out of 10. Now, when you line up Courtland Sutton on the outside and you put Jared Jeudy in the slot, that is a disaster for any defense when you're trying to stop Drew Lock and the Denver Broncos. Great pick for the Denver Broncos right there, Trey.
Yeah, Irv, I think it's fascinating when you look inside this division. Everybody's chasing the Kansas City Chiefs. So are they going to load up on defense to try and slow down that Chiefs offense? It's like, forget that. We're not going to be able to slow them down. We better get some firepower. So the Chargers go out and get their quarterback of the future in Justin Herbert. We saw the Raiders go get Henry Ruggs. And then now you have the Denver Broncos go get his teammate in Jerry Jeudy. The AFC West is loading up on offense.
Yeah, they certainly are. By the way, Alabama has 2 wide receivers in the first round now. It's just the 5th time in the common draft era since 1967 where 2 schools, or 1 school, had 2 wideouts go in the first round. John Elway is very happy right now. Draft, Roger Goodell doing his part, FaceTiming with all the quarterbacks taken in this draft. You see Tua Tagovailoa there. You had Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert as well. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Mel's best available, brought to you by Lowe's. Mel, what do we got?
Tell you got Philadelphia, Minnesota, New Orleans, all looking receivers. There's CDYAC, yard after catch. He's phenomenal there. CeeDee Lamb is. And you got the heck of a football player, Xavier McKinney. Justin Jefferson improved by leaps and bounds this past season. Chase on had some injuries, but he's an outstanding pass rusher. And Kenneth Murray, all this kid does, sideline to sideline range. Great football player, Booger at Oklahoma. One of 2 outstanding inside linebackers along with LSU's Patrick Queen.
Yeah, when you look at the Falcons and the Cowboys coming up, both of those teams need edge rush. And the second best edge rusher in this draft by a lot of people, myself included, was K'Lavon Chaisson. You got to think at some point he's going to be up to come off the board pretty quickly.
Chaisson now.
All right, Boog, thank you. There you see Dan Quinn, Arthur Blank, and GM Thomas Dimitroff. By the way, if anybody's going to nail the virtual draft, it would be Thomas Dimitroff. He was showing off his setup like 3 weeks ago. So we'll see what the Falcons are doing. We know their head coach, Dan Quinn, is a guy who built his reputation off speed defenders. That's what got him the Atlanta head coaching job, the things he was able to do in Seattle as their defensive coordinator. So where will Dan, Arthur, and Thomas Dimitroff go as we reach the halfway point of the first round of the draft? The pick is in. Let's find out what they're doing.
Here's your team. With the 16th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select A.J. Terrell, defensive back, Clemson.
Well, there you see A.J. Terrell and family, and it gets emotional pretty quickly, ladies and gentlemen. And A.J. Terrell announced his presence with authority in the 2018 College Football Championship game. He scored the first points of that game with a pick 6. Now, Terrell, by the way, changed his major from business to sociology because he said, I like to size people up. I like to understand why they think the way they do. Mel, he sized up people pretty well as a college player at Clemson.
Well, yeah, as a kid, he had some really strong games. Go back to the Alabama game in 2018, final game of the year, returned an interception, 44 yards for a touchdown in that game. Talking about 8 tackles as well in that football game. Then you go to the final game, you think about what happened there against LSU, where he had trouble there in coverage. I think you look at A.J. Terrell, he has the length, he has the recovery speed, gets a little grabby. That's going to result in penalty flags in the NFL. Fast for the clock, recovery speed at times looks like it's an issue, even though I say he does have that outstanding speed. Has to become more of a wrap-up tackler, and I think when you look at him, Lewis, the talent's there, needs a little bit more coaching.
He just needs to be more consistent, Mel. Look, this is a guy who really can get up on the line of scrimmage and challenge you in press man coverage. He has good route recognition. It's really the last third of the down is where I struggled with him as far as his ability to then go ahead and consistently finish. That's where he got into trouble in the national championship game against Jamar Chase. He struggled down the field playing strong at the catch point, but if he can improve that, he'll help the Atlanta Falcons secondary. All right, so A.J. Terrell goes to the Atlanta Falcons, which means
How about them Cowboys? The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock, and Jerry Jones. Jerry, very impressive setup for the virtual draft there as the Cowboys owner, president, and GM is there. But they're trying to reverse a trend. It's been a while. The Cowboys' last conference championship appearance was in 1995, and they went on to win Super Bowl 30. And these are the teams without a conference championship appearance since 96. And as you can see, the Cowboys are the only one on that list. They're the proud owners of 5 Lombardi trophies. But wait a minute, let's go back to that cartoon. Who was that on the right? On a horse? Michael. Michael! Now, you don't look very comfortable there in cartoon form on the horse. So, are you okay with us putting you on the horse like that?
Trey, remember, I'm from Miami. I'm a city boy all the way. But I must admit, when I did get here to Dallas, you start falling into the cowboy ways. I started wearing cowboy boots. So this next pick, no matter where he comes from, when he gets here, he will be like the Cowboys. He'll get in some boots and on a horse also.
I do think we need to have a comment about the bowler hats that you and Deion wore after that last Super Bowl. That was a fashion statement, my friend. I will never forget. We showed you Jerry Jones. There's Mike McCarthy, maybe a little close to the camera. As you can see, Mike McCarthy had the year away, obviously after being let go in Green Bay, but he was a very successful coach. They won Super Bowl 45. By the way, interestingly, in Dallas, 31-25 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. 9 playoff appearances in 13 seasons. Lewis, let's start with you. We look at the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, they lost Byron Jones in free agency, making that mega deal to go to the Dolphins. They have needs on the back end of that secondary. They may have some needs on the edge rush, but where do we see them going here? Because I think a lot of the corners that the Cowboys might have been looking at are now off the board.
Yeah, you really think about it, in the middle of the field, someone who can play a little bit of safety, play a little bit of nickel and dime linebacker, someone who comes to mind for me. And I'm looking at Xavier McKinney from Alabama. I think he would fit nicely in the middle of the field and give them some versatility as far as their defensive packages are concerned. He's a guy who plays with tremendous energy, tremendous tackler, good cover skills, very instinctive. I think he's the kind of guy who would look perfect with that Dallas Cowboys star on his helmet.
All right, look, he's sitting there
Lewis,
for him.
Interesting thing.
Go ahead, General.
I'm sorry. Real quick, Trey, which when you look at this team right here with the Dallas Cowboys and the decision that they have, is if they took CeeDee Lamb, they'd be taking him right out of the lap of a team in their division, with the Philadelphia Eagles having a huge need at wide receiver, a couple picks away. So that's another interesting storyline to keep an eye on with the Cowboys. I know they have those needs on defense, but CeeDee Lamb would be pretty tempting right here.
Well, this is CeeDee Lamb as he's waiting to hear his name called. Daniel, that's a really interesting point, right? Because you want to build your team, but sometimes you can do things to make sure that you don't help an opponent, a guy you'll see twice, a team you'll see twice. And Mel, listen, from the value of the pick here in terms of where we are in the draft at 17, are you surprised Lamb is still there?
A little bit. I think you look at a guy like CeeDee Lamb. Inside, he was 50% of his production. Outside, 50%. DJ mentioned Dallas. I had Lamb going there in a mock earlier, one of the earlier mocks, because of that third receiver being an issue. You got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, that third guy, whether it's Lamb, Justin Jefferson, would make sense. Obviously, I go with Lewis with Xavier McKinney. Love him as a football player. Antoine Winfield Jr. is obviously a kid, playmaker at Minnesota. And they need maybe a center at some point where they look at Cesar Ruiz from Michigan, who played guard, then was an anchor of that Michigan line the last 2 years. But I think that third receiver, if you want to do that, it's tempting here with Lamb or Jefferson.
Well, it looks like they're having a good conversation. Smiles on the faces right now between Mike McCarthy, the head coach, and Jerry Jones, the owner, president, GM, and master of time, space, and dimension for the Dallas Cowboys. There's a lot of ways this team could go, and this is a team that has their franchise quarterback, although not fully signed, has the running back. That offensive line that we looked at from a few years ago is not the strength that it was, but the pick is in, and we don't have to guess anymore. Let's find out where they go.
With the 17th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
Well, Dak Prescott just got another weapon to throw to, and CeeDee Lamb is a weapon in every shape of the word. By the way, his first full name is Sedarian. He was trying out for 4th grade football, and the coach couldn't say Sedarian, so I said, I'm just going to call you CD. By the way, he wears the number 32 chain in honor of his uncle, Chester Ramirez, who passed away on a business trip when he was in China a few years ago. But CeeDee Lamb is a big play waiting to happen, and there you see the reaction as CeeDee Lamb is coming off the board here. Michael Irvin, we're talking about a player at Oklahoma that was a big play almost all the time he touched the ball.
Yes, he is, Trey, and this is a perfect pick for the Dallas Cowboys. I know they wanted to shore up the defense, but they know that I knew as talking to them that Lamb was the first receiver they had on their board. And they talked about if he falls, they would have to snatch him up. Let me tell you what's great about this, because you know they got Amari Cooper and they got the young guy outside, Williams outside. But what this kid does, he can play in that slot position that was vacated by Randall Cobb. He played 70% outside last season, 30% in the slot. But he had productions from both spots, 7 touchdowns outside, 7 TDs from that slot, Mel. So he can play in the slot, and when he has to, he can go outside and make plays also.
4 career catches, Michael, of at least 40 yards. Third, and talk about top in school history in that area. 2 things. I always say CDYAC, the yards after the catch, the stiff arm, yards after catch, the tough catches in traffic. He can do that. He's a kid who's very explosive. He'll take that big hit, hold on to the football, knows how to find the open area in that defense. Obviously, coming out of Oklahoma, they schemed to get him the football, so route running we'll have to transition to with the Dallas Cowboys. But as that third receiver with Cooper and Gallup, now you got Dak Prescott, 3 big-time options in the passing game.
Well, listen, Michael Irvin's going to love this. CeeDee Lamb forced the most missed tackles as a patch catcher among wide receivers last year. Lincoln Riley is happy another Sooner is off the board. He ranks first at OU with 24 career receptions of at least 40 yards and 6 career games of at least 160 receiving yards. Jerry getting congratulations all around. Michael is happy too. NFL.com, relief to donate now. Time to check in with the Bud Light Seltzer Virtual Huddle. Delighted to be working through this evening with Mel Kiper Jr., Louis Riddick, Booger McFarland, and our great friends in collaboration from the NFL Network, Daniel Jeremiah, you know him as Move the Sticks, and a couple of Hall of Famers, Kurt Warner and Michael Irvin. All right, the Dolphins' second draft pick is in the first round. Let's find out. Oh, we do? Okay. All right, so we got some time to figure out here what they're going to do with the Miami Dolphins, the second overall pick in the first round. They took Tua Tagovailoa with the 5th overall pick. This is the pick they got when they traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the pick they got back there. And look, the Steelers are very happy with that trade. Minkah made a huge difference on defense, but the Dolphins are in rebuilding mode right now. Mel, as you look at what's available here to Miami, what makes sense to you?
Well, you got to take offensive tackle. You got to protect Tua whenever he's the starting quarterback, and that offensive line's a big issue. You got to believe, even if you have to reach a little, Trey, offensive tackle.
All right, we'll see if that's the case. Brian Flores and son look very happy, as does Chris Greer. Now we can tell you officially the pick is in. Let's see if they do go up front.
We got good news for Tua here. With the 18th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Austin Jackson, tackle, USC.
You know what just happened? Roger Goodell tipped the pick. He said we got good news for Tua. You knew it had to be an offensive lineman. And there is Austin Jackson, first team all Pac-12 out of USC as a junior last year. Ran the 40 at 5.07 at the combine at 6'5", 322 pounds. His grandfather, Melvin, was an offensive lineman at USC's national championship team in '74 and played 64 games for the Green Bay Packers. But as his family. Jackson donated bone marrow to his sister last summer. Autumn Jackson has a rare disease called diamond black fan anemia, a genetic disorder that prevents her bone marrow from producing red blood cells. As a sibling, Austin Jackson was the best match, but it was only about a 25% possibility that his marrow would match. There are 12 markers they use to designate whether or not someone's a good match. Austin Jackson was a perfect 12 for 12. And this was not an easy thing that they do. The extraction is done using a large needle with a handle at the top that they twist into the bone like opening a wine bottle with a corkscrew. But Austin did that for his sister. His sister's doing well. And now the Dolphins hope Austin does well with the Miami Dolphins. And as we said, it is a family affair for Austin Jackson. 6'4", 322 pounds. We mentioned his grandfather on the '74 championship team and went on to play all those games for the Green Bay Packers. Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network, what are they getting?
Well, I'll tell you what, they're getting a true left tackle with outstanding foot quickness and athleticism. And Trey, you did a great job telling the story about donating the bone marrow for his sister, but he did not have much of an offseason. I thought he struggled a little bit early on the year, and then he got more comfortable as the year progressed. He's only 20 years old. I don't know that he's able to step on the field right now and be an impact tackle, but Lewis, the upside with this kid is off the charts because of his ability to bend his knees and move. He's an outstanding athlete.
He's unmatched in this draft at the offensive tackle position, or you could say at least he's on par with all the other top tackles in the draft. Tremendous set quickness, long arms, good punch, tremendous recoverability, and in the run game, he could play in a power scheme, he could play in a zone scheme, he can climb to the second level. He just needs to stay more consistent when he goes up against technically proficient pass rushers, because he had trouble with A.J. Epinesa, had a little bit of trouble with Bradley Anae, but this is a guy who's his best football's all ahead of him without a doubt.
So there you see it, Tua Tagovailoa under center, Austin Jackson protecting that man under center, the offensive tackle out of USC. We continue to work our way through the draft. We are up to pick number 19, and there you see Austin Jackson and family celebrating. And as we just told you, it is absolutely something that is very important to Austin Jackson family. Austin Jackson there, went through that procedure, is now with Brian Flores. Thumbs up all the way around. As we agree, two really good picks for the Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa and offensive tackle Austin Jackson. Meanwhile, we're up to pick 19 in the first round. It is the second of the two first-round picks for the Oakland Raiders. Remember, they dealt away Amari Cooper. They dealt away Khalil Mack. They had 3 first-round picks last year. One of them was a home run, Josh Jacobs. Jonathan Abrams was hurt, never really saw, and Cleveland Ferrell didn't really translate what they thought they'd get with the 4th overall pick. Meanwhile, what will they do with their second pick here in the first round? The pick is in. Let's go to the commissioner and find out what the Las Vegas Raiders are doing.
We thought it would be fitting here at pick 19 as the Las Vegas Raiders welcome their second selection to make a special announcement. As you may know, we are scheduled to host a draft in Vegas this year. And we thank so many for the effort they put forth to prepare that possibility. And we think you deserve another shot. So we're happy here to announce that tonight, the Las Vegas Raiders will host the 2020 NFL Draft. Congratulations to Mark Davis, the Raiders organization, and Raiders Nation. We look forward to being there in Las Vegas, and congratulations. And now, with the 19th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Damon Arnett, defensive back, Ohio State.
All right, first of all, congratulations to Las Vegas getting the mulligan. We'll be there in a couple years as we will do the draft from there. But this is a fascinating decision here on a lot of levels by Damon Arnett. This was a kid that had basically decided his college career was over a year ago at cornerback and didn't even show up for some post-season meetings with Ohio State. But then it was a conversation with his father Chris Carter, the Ohio State Buckeye wide receiver and Hall of Famer, that said, you need to come back for another year at school to be the best player you can be. And Mel, we thought we'd see a second or third round grade on Damon Arnett. How surprised are you that he's in the first round?
Early second round grade. I think you look at that third corner, Trey. We have been saying, who's the third corner? You could never build a consensus on who that third corner was. After Jeff Okudah, Ohio State, and C.J. Henderson, Florida, DJ, you just couldn't find that guy, who that third corner was. A.J. Terrell's already been taken by Atlanta, maybe a little higher than we thought. And here, Damon Arnett, I'll tell you, he played through that injury. He tackled well. And when you're opposite Jeff Okudah, you're going to have action. And he held up very well. So I think the corners are reaching a little bit, DJ, because they're forcing these needs. Because, like I say, that third corner was very much up in the air.
Yeah, and for me, Mel, he was my 8th corner. So I think people had that third corner in all different orders. You know, one thing I'll say about Arnett, while I was surprised that he went this high, he's very competitive, and that fits with what they've tried to do in building this team over the last couple of years. A very physical, very competitive kid who can really find and play the football, which you've got to have at that position, Lewis. Look, his kid is tough, he's physical, and he can find the ball. I just thought it was a little bit earlier than I expected.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit earlier than a lot of people expected. But when you watch the film and you watch Jeffrey Okudah and then you watch Damon Arnett, look, I can tell you this. He actually plays from a technique standpoint just as well as Okudah in many respects, especially when you're talking about playing press coverage. He's very good at staying patient at the line, very physical with his hands, very physical down the field as far as not allowing wide receivers to create separation with their body. And he is a guy who's a finisher. I think it's a little bit higher than maybe some people expected, but when you really break down his game, he really is a good cover corner who really should develop into a very good pro.
Well, listen, he was a guy that listened to the people that were telling him, you need to come back and you will improve your draft status. And that's exactly what he did. We thought it was going to be improving to a second or third round pick. Instead, he goes to the Raiders with the 19th overall pick in the first round. By the way, second time in the last 4 drafts, the Buckeyes have had at least 2 first-round defensive backs and had 3 back in 2017. Put your feet up, the Draft-a-thon, and everybody doing what they can to help us get through the pandemic that has swept across this country, and why we're doing this draft virtually for the first time. But glad to be sharing a communal sport experience with all of you as we continue to weave our way through the first round of the 2020 NFL Draft. That was supposed to be in Vegas, but you heard Commissioner Goodell say just a few moments ago, they're getting the mulligan. We're going back in a couple of years after we go to Cleveland next year. Let's take a look at Mel's Best Available, brought to you by Lowe's. Mel, enlighten us.
Tell you, good football players still on the board. Xavier McKinney, a leader back there. Justin Jefferson had a phenomenal season at LSU. Eliminated the drops, became much more consistent. K'Lavon Chaisson is a guy who has pass rush ability, but has had some injury issues, some durability concerns with him. Kenneth Murray all over the field. There's Jordan Love. We said this is no man's land for that quarterback that drops. He's still on the board for that reason.
Well, there you see the quarterback still a lot of people thought were going in, Jordan Love, but where's Jacksonville going?
With the 20th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select K'Lavon Chaisson, linebacker, LSU.
Well, there you see K'Lavon Chaisson and company getting set to know that they are moving down to Jacksonville. K'Lavon Chaisson is a tour de force. He played his best at the end of the season. Over the last 4 games, including the SEC Championship and the playoffs, 5 sacks. He returned onto the field for the season opener and did all kinds of things. But the thing about K'Lavon Chaisson you need to know is he's prepared to do anything. He said, when you hire somebody, do you want to hire someone who speaks 1 language or do you want to hire somebody who speaks 3? I speak 3. I do pass rush. I can drop into coverage and cover anybody you want me to cover, and I can play the run. No offensive lineman has ever just moved me off the ball. Booger, I think we need to understand what an exceptional athlete this kid was. He didn't play football his sophomore year because he wanted to focus on basketball. He got 6 offers before he ever played a snap of varsity football in high school.
Without a doubt, Trey. You talk about a guy that provides scheme versatility, 3-4, 4-3. He's at his best, though, when he puts his hand down. He has elite get-off coming off the edge, running twists, running stunts. In a 3-4, he could be an outside linebacker. In a 4-3, he can be a defensive end. An outside linebacker in a 3-4, they have to drop in coverage. Dave Aranda is now the head coach at Baylor, dropped him off in coverage also. K'Lavon Chaisson was the second best pass rusher in this class, Lewis, and I think they got a steal right here at this point, getting such a dynamic player that has scheme versatility.
Yeah, what he is somebody who they can pair with Josh Allen now and really give you some heat off the edge. You got to assume that Yannick Ngakoue maybe not going to be on the roster here at some point, so they're planning for the future. And Chaisson, you're right. He's not a one-trick pony. He's not just somebody who's just a pass rusher. He will compete in the run game. And DJ, I think they really right now, they've set themselves up to once again have a young up-front group that can really get after the passer on the edges.
Yeah, very athletic up front now for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Lewis. And I'd also add this kid getting number 18 is a big deal at LSU, as you guys know, because of his leadership and because of his character. And when I talked to the coaches down there, they said when he hurt his knee and when he was rehabbing, he did not miss a single meeting. He was plugged into that program, one of the best leaders they had on that unbelievable LSU squad.
All right, guys, thanks very much. K'Lavon Chaisson, again, went to work out at a summer camp for LSU to watch a friend, and they said, you should get on the field. He borrowed cleats and got an offer from LSU. 5 more came. Meanwhile, we have the Philadelphia Eagles sitting there with 22. You thought they might go wide receiver. We've seen some wide receivers go off the board as you look at Doug Peterson, the head coach, and Howie Roseman, the executive VP and GM. But here's why they need wide receivers in what is a very deep wide receiver draft. The last 4 games of 2019, these are the wide receivers that they were throwing to, including a former running back in Greg Ward. They used a pick on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside a year ago. That really didn't work out. They had all kinds of injuries. So, Lewis, as you look at the Eagles and the lack of depth on their wide receiver depth chart, it certainly seems like this would be a need that they need to fill.
Yeah, it really is. They need somebody who can make plays down the field. Someone really, quite honestly, is a 3-position player, can play the X, the Z, and the E. They also need some linebacker help, and there's 2 linebackers on the board still right now, and Kenneth Murray and Patrick Queen. So you figure maybe they don't see the value at wide receiver here, although keep an eye on a guy like Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State. But the linebackers, the inside backers with speed and coverage ability are sitting right there. Maybe they pull the trigger on one of those.
Well, there you see Justin Jefferson, who had an unbelievable season at LSU. Michael Irvin, we've talked a little bit about some of these receivers, and the big 3 are off the board, but we're talking about a wide receiver draft class where there could be upwards of 15 to 20 that potentially have a first-round grade, including someone like Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson is another guy that plays a lot in the slot. About 90% of his plays came out of the slot position, man, but he could make plays all over the field. I love watching him. He reminds me some of Keenan Allen, the kind of guy that you cannot stop no matter where he lines up.
All right, we'll see what happens. Again, sometimes you have to let the board talk to you, and if you are the Philadelphia Eagles, you know you need to get some sort of wide receiver for your help in Carson Wentz, who has obviously had his own issues the last couple of years. But you just saw the Dallas Cowboys load up in that division, getting CeeDee Lamb to go with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup and Zeke Elliott and everything else they've got going there. It's going to be a point-scoring league. We're talking about Dak Prescott last season, who threw for almost 5,000 yards, 4,900. Do the Eagles feel like they need to ramp up the offensive side of the ball? We've seen Howie Roseman make all kinds of trades when he feels like he needs to make a trade and go out and get players. And Doug Peterson obviously has a system that works for him. It's been with him, and it's been with him when he was at Kansas City under Andy Reid. Translated that very nicely to what the Eagles have done here. And again, we've only had those top 3 wide receivers come off the board. There are the T. Higgins of the world. You heard Lewis mention Brandon Ayuk as well. And then we had Justin Jefferson. There are other players like Denzel Mims out of Baylor, Jalen Reagor out of TCU. All of these people are players that have first-round grades at wide receiver. But we're hearing the pick is in. Let's see if they do indeed go wide out.
Before we announce the Eagles selection, I want to personally thank our fans for your contributions to the NFL Draft-a-thon. If you're able to give, we encourage you to go to NFL.com/relief to contribute to those most in need. And we thank you again for your support. With the 21st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jalen Reagor, wide receiver, TCU.
Well, this is a player and a name, guys, who has been rising up a lot of draft boards since the end of the season. And if you're thinking, Reagor, that name sounds familiar, you are 100% correct. His father, Monte Reagor, was a defensive end who played 9 years in the NFL, including he was a member of the Indianapolis Colts when they won Super Bowl 41 in Miami 29-17 over the Chicago Bears. But Reagor, 5'10", almost 5'11", 206 pounds. And there you see Monte Reagor. And he was a guy whose job it was to get to the quarterback. And he put together a little pro day workout that he sent around to videos. And Michael Irvin, a lot of people were very impressed with Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, and I was impressed with him also. He's another one of those guys. Small guy, but can go when he gets that football in his hands. He only ran a 4.47 at the combine, but he's faster than that clock shows. He has a 42-inch vertical, and we don't know what's happening with Deshaun Watson. They needed speed, and they went and got speed. Reagor is a great pick for the Philadelphia Eagles to go with Carson Wentz.
Michael, that's the one thing. 20.8-yard average, a punt return. He had fumbled the punt against Kansas. He scooped it up and went 80 yards for a touchdown. Tracks the deep ball exceptionally well. And on those underneath throws, he can take it the distance with his speed. He's a heck of a competitor, very explosive. And I think that attitude, that approach that he brings, you got to like. And I think the versatility as well, he's a big-time punt returner added to his value.
Well, he left a lasting impression on someone. He had an incredible 65-yard touchdown on a jailbreak screen against Baylor. Matt Rule says, I still have nightmares about Jalen Reagor. And Howie Roseman is hoping that Jalen Reagor will provide nightmares for all the teams that have to play the Eagles in the NFC East. Back to the wild card game between the Vikings and the Saints as Minnesota did it again to New Orleans. Just 3 straight years, the Saints have had heartbreaking losses on the final play of the game as they got off early to a good start. Drew Brees and company rallied back. Taysom Hill on the reception there. But then Minnesota and company went to overtime after that kick. And then Kyle Rudolph, after Adam Thielen got him down there, comes up with the touchdown, 26-20. That's a 3rd straight playoff game the Saints had lost with the final score, the winning points coming on the final play of the game. That was our Pizza Hut draft moment. So, Kurt Warner, we look at Minnesota. This is the pick Minnesota got when they made Buffalo made the trade to take Stephon Diggs and take him to Buffalo. Where do we think Minnesota needs to go here? First of 2 picks they've got.
Well, Trey, you're talking to a quarterback. Get me more weapons if I'm Kirk Cousins. And this was a team that was top 10 in rushing the football last year. We know we just saw they won a playoff game, but they were only 23rd ranked in the National Football League at throwing the football. You lose one of your biggest weapons in Stephon Diggs. You wonder if they take a page out of San Francisco's playbook. They traded away to Forrest Buckner. They draft a younger version, a cheaper version of that. Will Minnesota do the same after getting this pick from Buffalo for Stephon Diggs?
I got to say, I've really enjoyed looking inside the head coach's houses. Mike Zimmer with the big fireplace and the fire roaring. Very Minnesota touch. The pick is in, and Roger Goodell is going full skull with the Vikings fans.
Let's go. Come on, let's go, Viking fans. With the 22nd pick in the 2020 draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, LSU.
Well, here's where you're about to find out that sometimes drafting is kind of like high school recruiting. It's not an exact science. Justin, we apologize. ESPN gave you no stars coming out of high school, and you were listed as the number 308 receiver in the nation in the class of 2017. You didn't even crack the top 50 in the state of Louisiana. Safe to say, you made up for it. your season was incredible. A school record 111 catches. If it hadn't been for teammate Jamar Chase's 20 touchdown grabs, you would have had the most last season in college football at 18. Of course, he's not the first Jefferson to play football at LSU. Jordan, his oldest brother, was a quarterback there. And Ricky, another older brother, was an LSU defensive back 2013 to 2016. Michael Justin Jefferson was a late bloomer and came into this process a little later than some, and he has certainly made the most of it with an unbelievable career at LSU.
Yes, and listen, and I love this pick as a football player. Now, I'm really anxious to see how Minnesota will work this out because, you know, Adam Thielen works the slot a lot in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson was 99% out of the slot at LSU. So seeing how they mesh this together is going to be very interesting. But this kid can flat out play football. He made great plays deep, made plays over top of people, and when he does get the ball in his hands, he can take short passes and make long plays out of them. Justin Jefferson going to Minnesota. I'll tell you, DJ, Mel, that's going to be a great pick.
Yeah, look, when you look at this player on tape, he reminds me so much of Keenan Allen and what he did in the slot, Mike. His ability to separate, he catches everything. He's always where he's supposed to be. He's a pro. And when I talked to the folks down at LSU, they said, look, his brother who played at LSU was roommates with Patrick Peterson. This kid was running routes against Patrick Peterson when he was a teenager. He's not going to be intimidated when he steps into an NFL locker room. And Mel, I had a buddy in the league that said this was Gary Kubiak's favorite receiver in the draft. He's going to catch 1,000,000 balls in Minnesota.
DJ, I'm surprised he was there. I thought he'd go more middle of the first round, that 13, 14, 15 area. The big games, Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson, late in the year, he had 30 receptions in those 3 football games. Then he ran 4.43 at the combine when a lot of people thought he'd run 4.55. Joe Brady really improved, coaching up those receivers. He eliminated those drops, and Justin Jefferson became, like Joe Burrow, a completely different player in 2019 as he was in 2018. And that allowed him to move up from the second round into the first round.
Well, there you see GM Rick Spielman, and there is Justin Jefferson. Again, a replacement for what they lost when they got this pick, Stephon Diggs. That was part of a trade before the draft. But now let's go back to Adam Schefter. Adam, we're at pick 23, which would be the Patriots, but wait a minute, we've got a trade, don't we?
Well, Trey, yes, the New England Patriots have traded out of the first round, trading that pick, number 23, to the Los Angeles Chargers for second and third round picks. There are the details of the exact trade. Keep in mind, New England had traded its second round pick for Mohamed Sanu, so now the Patriots are left with 13 picks. And they could take the same player at 37 that they would have taken at 23. The Chargers, meanwhile, I think are looking for defensive help. They got Justin Herbert on the other side of the football. There's a couple of linebackers sitting there right now that would make a lot of sense for the Los Angeles Chargers at this point in time. They're looking for a tackling machine.
All right, Adam,
They're
thanks.
looking
The
for
pick is in. Let's find out what the Chargers are doing with their second first-round pick. No? Okay. The pick is not yet in. But again, not surprising that the Patriots moved back. Or not surprising that the Patriots moved back at all. This is what Bill Belichick has done as we're trying to see what Anthony Lynn, the head coach, and Tom Telesco, the general manager of the LA Chargers, are going to do. Listen, the Patriots are going to take a quarterback at some point in this draft process, but it wasn't going to be in the first round. And what they're doing is gearing up for picks potentially to move and shake around a quarterback in the third or fourth round. But the Chargers got their quarterback for sure in the first round when they took Justin Herbert, 6th overall out of Oregon. We're still waiting on Jordan Love's situation where that's going to shake down and maybe potentially have 4 quarterbacks go in the first round. But we're also waiting to figure out what the Chargers are going to do. Again, this was a team that is moving on from everything that happened with the Phillip Rivers era. There is Jordan Love, still waiting to hear his name called. Now let's find out what the Chargers are going to do.
The New England Patriots have traded the 23rd pick to the Los Angeles Chargers. With the 23rd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Kenneth Murray, linebacker, Oklahoma.
Well, the Chargers have their Murray, as in Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma. This kid is fascinating. First of all, one of his first sports that he played well was golf. So he'll do very well in the Los Angeles area. Lots of great golf courses. But he is a fascinating guy, and he was a kid that people saw right away. His uncle said, I called him meat because at the age of 2, I knew that was a man right there. And he has been a man on the field and a man off the field in so many ways. Lewis, take us through what the Chargers are getting in Kenneth Murray.
They're getting a 3-down linebacker, Trey, who absolutely can just wreak havoc from sideline to sideline. I thought his key and diagnose, his eyes were where they needed to be at all times. He's a guy who inserted downhill with tremendous physicality on a consistent basis. He's a guy who played with a ton of energy. He's one of those guys who really does neutralize the second level of the field for the defense and can match up with running backs or tight ends. I love this pick for the Chargers. They needed an upgrade of speed and playmaking ability at the second level, and they've got it with Kenneth Murray for sure, Booger.
Without a doubt, and when you understand what defensive coordinator Gus Bradley wants to do in that 4-3, 3-deep zone scheme, he wants a guy that can see ball, hit ball. Kenneth Murray can definitely do that. But more than anything, when you drop back in zone coverage, can he find the zone? Can he look up the underneath receiver? Can he look up the tight end? Gus Bradley has coached some great linebackers in his days, coaching Derrick Brooks. He understands how to put that linebacker, whether it's a middle linebacker or a wheel linebacker, put him in the right position to make plays. This is a great fit for Kenneth Murray, and I know Gus Bradley and Anthony Lynn have got to be happy out in Los Angeles.
Well, listen, Kenneth Murray learned CPR when he was 12, and he used it to help save a life from someone on the Oklahoma campus a year ago. Tom Telesco and company are very, very happy. Lincoln Riley sees another one of his former Sooners go off the board as Kenneth Murray is now headed to the Chargers.
Coach of the New Orleans Saints. As many of you know, I was diagnosed with COVID-19 a month and a half ago and have been fortunate enough to have fully recovered. Many people across our country and across the world have not been as fortunate. My thoughts and prayers go out to all of those who have lost loved ones during this extremely difficult time. To all of our first responders, healthcare providers, and essential workers, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. You are the heroes who will get our country through this.
Sean Payton knows firsthand what COVID-19 can do, and here he was donating plasma on Monday to help COVID-19 patients. As you know, Payton was the first person within the NFL family to be diagnosed with COVID-19. People who've recovered from COVID-19 have begun donating their plasma because their antibodies may help other patients fight off the disease. And there's a sign outside our campus here on Bristol saying thank you to frontliners and the first responders. So we take a look at the New Orleans Saints as there is the fully recovered Sean Payton getting set to figure out what they're going to do with the 24th selection in the first round. And, you know, they've had so much heartbreak over the last 3 seasons. The last 3 postseasons, they've lost games on which the winning points in that game were scored on the final play of the game. They've had some losses in the secondary. They did pick up Emmanuel Sanders, getting him over in free agency after he was let go by San Francisco. So where will the Saints go? What are we thinking about the possibilities here for them? Louis Riddick, what are you thinking?
I think, Trey, they need playmaking ability at the second level of their defense at linebacker. So we see Kenneth Murray go off the board. Patrick Queen is there now. Their linebackers weren't very productive in terms of tackles across the league, in terms of pass breakups, forced fumbles. They really struggled in this area. So could they use a playmaking linebacker who could roam sideline to sideline on that defense to go along with a very good defensive front and an improving secondary? Absolutely. This is a team that's ready to challenge. They can really just take best player available, and Patrick Queen may be sitting there staring right at him.
All right, the pick is in. Let's find out where New Orleans goes with the 24th pick in the first round of the 2020 draft.
With the 24th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Cesar Ruiz, Center, Michigan.
So there you see the very emotional reaction from Cesar Ruiz. He said a few years ago he was born to play center, and while that is his preference, he would do whatever is needed. And he is going through this draft process with a very, very heavy heart. Who you don't see in the picture there with Cesar Ruiz is his father, Cesar Edwin Ruiz. 31 career starts at Michigan. He's dedicated his career to his father, who in December of 21 pulled over on the side of a road, Route 55 in South Jersey, to help another car whose driver was trying to change a flat tire. He was then struck and killed by a driver who reportedly fled the scene of the accident. His father was 26 at the time. Ruiz was only 8 years old, and he said he knows his father would one day be proud of the man he is today. And that's why the reaction is there for Cesar Ruiz going to the New Orleans Saints, the emotion hitting him. This is some of the best part of what makes the draft the draft. Dreams fulfilled, and thinking so often about those who are not there to be with them in this time. Mel Kiper, simply as a player, what are the Saints getting in Cesar Ruiz?
Versatility, Trey. You got a guy who started at guard, 5 starts at right guard early on, then the last 2 years anchoring that Michigan Wolverine line. Appeared in 36 games, 31 career starts, 26 at center, 5 at right guard. Think about a guy as a run blocker. You went head up, we're on the move, he can pull, he gets to the second level. Pass protection, good technique, feet, face, he can mirror, he can re-anchor. Talked about versatility. I think that's the key here is the ability to fill a hole at center or guard, DJ. Cesar Ruiz, clearly the best center in the draft. As a guard, you could argue he was one of the top guys at that spot. I think it's a nice pick for a team in the interior of the offensive line with a veteran quarterback. Nearing the end of a great career for Drew Brees, get a guy like Cesar Ruiz to help the interior.
Yeah, Mel, I thought he was a top interior offensive lineman in this draft, regardless. You're talking about center or guard. He's just very firm. And you mentioned Drew Brees. Drew Brees has always required that up front. I just find it fascinating that last year they went and got a center in Eric McCoy, who played very well last year. And now you bring another player with the versatility to play a couple different spots there. Lewis, the Saints will just continue to reinvest in the middle of that offensive line. It served them well.
Yeah, remember back in their heyday, as far as offensive lines were concerned, when they had Jari Evans and Carl Nix at the offensive guard positions. Why? Just as you alluded to, DJ, to make sure that the pocket stayed secure. This just fortifies the interior of their offensive line. If Cesar has the ability to play 2 positions and he can move over and slide over to guard, and Eric McCoy can stay at center, it just fortifies this team inside out, which is a great fundamental way to build your roster. And really, they just took best player available for them, and you gotta give them credit for the pick here.
Yeah, Lewis, just so you know, I love what Ruiz had to say about his confidence. If you look at the film and look how I dominate people, I am very confident that I am a first-round pick. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the pick. And by the way, we have another trade in the first round here. Again, we had 6 trades in the first round last year. This is only the 3rd that we've had in this year. San Francisco has traded back in. So Minnesota, who had 2 first-round picks because of the trade they made when they sent Stephon Diggs to the Buffalo Bills, they're down to 1. San Francisco has traded back in to the first round. Remember, they were at 13 and 31. Or they still have 31, right? Do they still have 31? They still have 31. They just moved up in the San Francisco Tampa Bay swap. Let's go to Adam Schefter. Adam, what more can you tell us here? Adam, can you hear me?
Yeah, Trey. Here's the trade, basically. Moments ago, the San Francisco 49ers traded picks 31, 117, and 176 to Minnesota for the 25th overall pick. And what the 49ers were doing was, in this deep wide receiver class, they need to strengthen that position. They lost Emmanuel Sanders in free agency. Their only 2 healthy wide receivers right now are Deebo Samuel and Kendrick Bourne. Jalen Hurd is coming back off injury, last year's rookie. He could wind up playing tight end. They need wide receiver help. There's a lot of wide receivers out there, and the 49ers just have made the move right now to trade all those picks up to Minnesota's spot to take a wide receiver here, I believe.
All right, Adam, thanks very much. We appreciate that. So there you see Kyle Shanahan and company in a very cozy confine working through the virtual draft. But again, they give up that 31st pick, so they move up, 5 slots here to 25, or 6 slots rather, to take the 25th overall pick here as John Lynch also trying to figure out. It does seem like wide receiver would be the play here, right, Daniel Jeremiah?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. My highest rated receiver that's left is Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State, who I think is outstanding. Another one that is outstanding after the catch. He's been working out with TJ Houshmandzadeh, and TJ told me he reminded him a lot of Chad Johnson, who he played with there in Cincinnati. So that's high praise for Brandon Ayuk. I think he'd be a great fit in that offense.
All right, Daniel, thanks. So the pick is in. San Francisco has moved up from 31 to 25. Let's see where they're going with another first-round pick.
The Minnesota Vikings have traded the 25th pick to the San Francisco 49ers. With the 25th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver, Arizona State.
All right, Daniel Jeremiah, nicely done. Brandon Ayuk is indeed the selection, so that's the second straight year. Forks up, Herm Edwards, that an Arizona State Sun Devil wide receiver has gone in the first round. N'Keal Harry went there a year ago when he went into I believe the last pick to the New England Patriots. He's from Reno, Nevada. He transferred from Sierra College. But what's really interesting about Brandon Ayuk is the fact that he's basically just about 6 feet tall, but his wingspan is 81 inches. Let's put that in comparison, Michael Irvin. Megatron was 6'5", Calvin Johnson. He had an 82-inch wingspan. This guy is 5 inches shorter, and his wingspan is only 1 inch less. How is that possible?
I tell you, it's a blessing from God to have that reach. I call that an area code wide receiver. You put the phone anywhere, you put the ball anywhere in the area code, and he will make that play. And you match him up. You give Kyle Shanahan, that genius of an offensive mind, a guy like Brandon Ayuk, who can make plays with the ball, as you're watching right here on the screen. I mean, it's going to be a great combination to put with that young group they have in San Francisco.
Yeah, when you think about Brandon Ayuk, just think about this stat right here. His yards after catch per reception was better than even Henry Ruggs III. This guy is a big playmaker, a big play waiting to happen. They got him the ball on wide receiver screens as well as anybody in college football, and he was able to make guys miss and take it the distance. He was one of the best double move route runners in the NFL as well. A guy who also can return punts and really break the game open that way. This is a great pick for the San Francisco 49ers and gives them that home run hitter that they need.
All right, so that's the 6th wide receiver in the first round. Kyle Shanahan seems to be very happy about the fact that Brandon Ayuk is now a member of the San Francisco 49ers. John Lynch pleased as well. We'll see if the Niner fan base will be pleased when they see Ayuk on the field.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jimmy Kimmel. We miss entertaining you and ourselves in my hometown of Las Vegas.
But, of course, the most important thing to do now is to stay home and stay safe.
Your home happens to be an empty luxury resort that you own. Well, all the better for you.
So thank you for doing your part in the fight against COVID-19.
And on behalf of all of us at Caesars Entertainment, we also want to send our deepest thanks to all the medical professionals and first responders.
We're keeping us all safe and keeping our communities going.
You are our heroes.
We're going to get through this. And when we do, rest assured, all of us in Las Vegas will be ready to perform for all of you.
And there you see a live look of Vegas and Allegiant Stadium just off the strip there behind Caesars Palace. And we're looking forward to getting back there. Roger Goodell, the commissioner, made the announcement earlier tonight that Vegas will be the host of the 2022 draft. Again, it's 2021 in Cleveland, 2023 in Arrowhead. They had an empty year, and that will be Las Vegas in 2022. We are all in this together, folks. Help us make a difference now. Huddle up for COVID-19 relief efforts and join players, teams, fans, and communities around the country in the NFL Draft-a-thon. If we unite behind this cause, we can provide relief For those significantly impacted by the pandemic, every dollar counts. Mel's Best Available, brought to you by Lowe's. Mel, what do you see?
Pure football player Xavier McKinney, that 4.6 340 at the combine may have hurt him a bit in prioritizing safety. Teams look at corners. A.J. Terrell, not the player McKinney is in terms of a pure football player, but he goes because he's a cover corner. You think about a guy like Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, what they meant to Seattle's secondary. Safeties are important. Xavier McKinney is a great player. And Jordan Love, we knew who's going to take a quarterback once they start falling. Maybe Green Bay at the end of the first round or somebody trading back in is the only opportunity for the quarterback that ended up falling. And in this case, it was Jordan Love from Utah State.
All right, we're still waiting to see where Jordan Love will go, as is everybody there at the house in Bakersfield, California. Meanwhile, we have another trade, our fourth of the first round, guys. Green Bay is now on the clock. Remember, they traded with Miami. This would have been the slot that Miami had from the Laramie Tunsil trade with Houston. As you see, Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the Green Bay Packers. So the Packers, guys, they were in the NFC Championship game, but they got shoved around in that game by San Francisco. As you look at this team, Mel, what do you think Green Bay is needing right now in the draft?
Well, you know, wide receiver, it was all Devontae Adams. And tight end like Cole Kmet, you think about T. Higgins from Clemson, wide receiver still on the board that had that kind of ability, and a great tight end prospect like Cole Kmet as well. Mentioned Jordan Love. That was more of a luxury pick with Aaron Rodgers looking for weapons. It's all Devontae Adams. That's the only weapon they have in the passing game. And now you have, like I say, guys with size, that catch radius of a power forward like T. Higgins could be, and a tight end with the capability of Cole Kmet from Notre Dame.
Yeah, Cole Kmet's going to be an interesting one. He put on a show at the Combine and certainly upped his stock. Okay, apparently the pick is in for Green Bay, so let's find out what the Packers are going to do. Again, they moved up in a trade here with Miami. Miami will only have 2 first-round picks. Here is Green Bay. Let's find out where they go.
You've been waiting all night for this. Let's go. The Miami Dolphins have traded the 26th pick to the Green Bay Packers. With the 26th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State.
Okay, this is fascinating because I believe Aaron Rodgers is the same age as Brett Favre was in 2005 when they selected Aaron Rodgers in the first round, stunning Brett Favre. And you have to wonder how stunned Aaron Rodgers might be that a quarterback is going 26th overall when Aaron Rodgers went 24th overall in the 2005 draft. But there you have the 4th quarterback in the first round, and this was a guy who was a late bloomer. You see there, 5'6", 130 when he entered high school. He's now 6'3", 224 pounds, and he broke the records at Utah State. Let's go back to NFL Network's Kurt Warner, a Hall of Fame quarterback. Kurt, are you surprised by this move, first of all?
Well, yeah, I am surprised a little bit, Trey, is that obviously you have Aaron Rodgers going to play a few more years, but wants to win now and wants to have some weapons around him to give him the firepower to be successful. But as you mentioned before, this worked out pretty well for him when they went and got Aaron Rodgers when Brett Favre had a couple years left. So now they're just building for the future. A lot of people compare this guy to a Patrick Mahomes. He's got that upside, that athleticism, the ability to make some of those special throws that Green Bay has seen for a number of years with Aaron Rodgers. So it's about preparing for the future, getting that next quarterback. But I am a bit surprised because I know Aaron Rodgers is thinking, get me some more weapons. I want to win more before I retire.
Yeah, it's philosophy. It's when you think about a quarterback that could be the heir apparent, or do you help Aaron Rodgers and get him weapons? And there's a lot of depth at wide receiver. You can find those guys into the 4th, 5th round. But for Jordan Love, he's a developmental quarterback. He needs time to learn in a transition. Obviously, coming off a rough year at Utah State, losing all those starters on the offensive line, losing the weapons around him, losing his offensive coordinator and his head coach. You go back 2 years ago, he looked like a top 10, top 15 pick, potentially DJ, but too much at You can't reload at Utah State, losing all they did. He tried to do too much, but the arm talent you cannot coach.
Yeah, no doubt, Mel. When you talk about the decision-making being concerning, that is absolutely true. But when you go look at the video and study this kid, he's got more talent than any other passer in this entire draft. Let me show you what I'm talking about when you see him. Watch him on the move, the roll, right, show you the touch, the accuracy to be able to get this ball up and down, very smooth, very easy on the road against Michigan State. How about the ability to rip a skinny post in here? Can you fit a ball in a tight window? Watch the triangle of defenders. He's able to squeeze that one in with premier velocity. Now, can you read the full field? He doesn't do a lot of it, but you see glimpses of it, like here against LSU, working right to left. His feet don't even follow his eyes. He still is able to whip the ball out there to the flat very smoothly. And then it's the creativity to be able to buy some time and to be able to throw on the move. LSU, think about the difference in talent between Utah State and LSU. This kid has a lot of ability, but he's got to clean up the decision-making.
Yeah, again, he was phenomenal 2 years ago. But again, real quickly, Aaron Rodgers is 36. Brett Favre was 35. So basically the same age when this happened. But Jordan Love's story is fascinating on a lot of levels. And for more on that, let's check in with our Susie Calder.
The Jordan Love story has been a wild card in this draft, and we're all surprised that Green Bay traded up to take you. Jordan, what about you?
Oh, I'm just super excited. Yeah, it's just all excitement right now.
Would you have ever expected this?
Hey, I mean, I didn't know what to expect coming into this, so, I'm super excited. Had some good talks with coaching staff here at Green Bay, so I'm excited.
So what do you think you can learn from Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, I'm already knowing I can learn a lot from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's one of the GOATs right there in the game, and I'm excited to be able to come back behind him and just learn as much as I can.
You know, especially now, we are all so appreciative of the people on the front lines and the people who protect us. Both your parents were in law enforcement. Tonight, you fulfill your father's vision. How do you feel you've done that?
I mean, just by all the work, I put in to get here, and the work that he got me here, I mean, really. So I definitely fulfilled my father's vision.
Jordan, congratulations. You're going to the Green Bay Packers.
Thank you. Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right, there you see Orban Love, Jordan's father, with him and some of his siblings. For those that don't know the story, Orban took his life on July 13th, 2013, 16 days shy of his 52nd birthday. He was a member of the police force in Bakersfield, California. But he had just had a change in his blood pressure medicine, and he began acting very strangely after that. Jordan and everybody in the family wanted to go out of the way to say he was not a depressed human being. He didn't have those problems. They had tried to change his blood pressure medication once before, and there were some other strange behavioral issues, so they went back to the old medication, but after it rose again, they tried another one, and not long after that, Orban Love took his life. And in the obituary, by the way, they wanted to make sure that they said he was, and I quote, taken by a medical demon. So it was the blood pressure medicine, the family believes, that caused some of that. So all of that, the background of Jordan Love, now the quarterback taken in the first round by the Green Bay Packers, coming off an NFC Championship game appearance. And again, it was in 2005 when Brett Favre was just about the same age. The Packers decided to take Aaron Rodgers in the first round at the 24th pick of 2005 draft. Okay, before we get to our next pick, we have a special message now from some people working very hard. No special message. Okay, we'll get to that a little bit later. That's going to happen at some point tonight. I apologize. Seattle is up on the board at 27. Obviously, the NFC West is a very, very difficult division. We've seen it top to bottom. And obviously, the Arizona Cardinals have improved themselves, they believe, with the picks they've made in the last couple of drafts, including Kyler Murray overall. So where do we think Seattle is going? Lewis, let's start with you as we take a look at the Seattle Seahawks at 27.
Well, I think the lines are really where maybe they would look to address right here, both offensively and defensively? Could they use another offensive tackle, particularly on the right side? Of course. Could they use another pass rusher? Look, they struggled generating pass rush on and putting pressure on the quarterbacks with 4 up front. Is there anyone that's really sticking out right now? I mean, really, you're just going to take best player available. But if they're going to go for positions, maybe they can address offensive tackle, see if they can get a pass rusher here that they can develop and really help put some heat on the passer like they used to back in the days when they were winning the Super Bowl.
All right, Lewis, thanks very much. So we'll see what happens with Seattle. Again, they have Russell Wilson. They've had issues on the offensive line as long as Russell Wilson has been there. They've tried to fix that a couple of times. That has not worked, but we're going to see what happens there. So we're going to go with what's going on in Seattle right now with the 27th overall pick. So now, before we get to the pick, we have a special message from some people working very hard on the front lines at CenturyLink Field in Seattle.
Hello, Chef Potato here at CenturyLink Field. Lately, our home here, like many, has been pretty busy. Right now, this kitchen is pumping out 3,500 meals for our community every day, and we are gearing up to do more by the day. Just like our Seahawks, we are about putting in the work and taking action. We are working hard to protect our community and the ones that are most vulnerable. Now, let's welcome a new face to our home. Go Hawks!
Thank you to everyone working so hard in Seattle and all over the country to take care of our most vulnerable. It's great to see our teams and stadiums helping those who need it the most in our communities. So with the 27th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Jordan Brooks, linebacker, Texas Tech.
Well, this is interesting because I had one coach tell me this week, I wish people would stop putting Jordan Brooks in their mock draft. We love this kid. We don't want everybody to know him. But you look at the numbers there, 367 tackles. He led the Red Raiders in tackles 2016, 2018, and 2019. You look at what he's doing on the field, and the production, Lewis, has just been incredible.
Yeah, Trey, this is a super fast linebacker who basically lines up at Mike Backer in both base and sub. Now, he is a guy who really can get after it from a point of attack standpoint and coming downhill. Now, he's a guy who in coverage, I struggled with him a little bit as far as his zone coverage awareness and his man coverage exposure. You don't see him doing a lot of that, but when he is able to key and diagnose like you see right here, he can come and he will bring it and he will bring the wood and make some physical, impressive tackles. Mel, what did you see when you evaluated Brooks?
Tackling machine. I tell you, when he was out there, that Red Raider defense, he was their best player. He jumped out at you, and I think you look at a 6', 240-pounder coming off a shoulder injury. He runs at the combine 4.54. This kid can fly around the field. Now he's got the durability concern with the shoulder injuries, but when he's on the field, you can see when he wasn't on the field, DJ, against Texas, they rolled up over 600 yards. So he was a difference maker. He's a good football player. I thought he'd go no later than the mid-second round, and there were a lot of teams that thought very highly of Jordan Brooks, DJ.
Yeah, that 4.54 speed, Mel, shows up on tape. And just think about this pick for the division. When you have San Francisco, the Rams, and the Arizona Cardinals, they're going to force your linebackers to play out in space. Well, you don't get any more space than playing in Lubbock and playing in the Big 12. This guy's had his whole existence in space, so it makes sense for the fit inside the division where they got to play those teams twice.
Yeah, the NFC West is just unbelievable. Pete, very happy. A lot of room in Pete Carroll's virtual setup there in Kirkland, Washington. Pete seems very happy. Sure, John Schneider is happy as well. Yeah, there he is. The draft continues now as we're getting close to the end of the absolutely delighted to be part of the NFL draft on here, doing whatever we can to raise money for COVID-19 relief. Okay. There's Antoine Winfield, of course, waiting to see if he'll hear his name called, as his father, Antoine Winfield, was, I believe, the 23rd pick overall in the 1992 draft. There's Grant Delpit out of LSU. Jim Thorpe Award winner for the best defensive back this past season. And also Patrick Queen the linebacker out of LSU. So we're waiting to see when their names will indeed be called. So the 32 young men drafted tonight will obviously go on to do great things on the field, but they'll also make tremendous impacts in their communities. Nobody exemplified that more than Walter Payton. Tonight, we're proud to have a special mention from Calais Campbell.
This past season, I was truly honored and humbled to be named the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year. It's very special to me. I want to send a special thank you to the NFL, the Payton family, and nationwide for shining a big spotlight on all the players across the league who are making a difference in their communities. Now I'm excited to be joining the Baltimore Ravens for the next chapter of my NFL career. In Baltimore, I'm excited to be a part of the family. Let's welcome our newest member to the Baltimore Ravens. Be ready to go, and let's get it.
Thank you, Calais, for your excellence on and off the field. The Walter Payton Man of the Year Award is our highest honor, and you, Calais, are truly a role model to all of us, and congratulations on being a Raven. With the 28th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU.
Well, I guess it's not a surprise that we're seeing a draft dominated by Alabama and LSU players, is it? Patrick Queen made game-changing plays when they mattered most. It was his interception right before the half that led to LSU's halftime lead over Alabama, 33-13. Had a sack in each of the regular season finale against A&M and the SEC championship game. And he was all over Clemson in the national title game. 2.5 sacks for loss and a half a sack to go along with 8 tackles. Boog, he was the defensive MVP, and he was a guy on a mission this year for LSU.
Well, without a doubt, Trainer, and I think his best football is still in front of him. Young player, but he plays sideline to sideline. He may not be the biggest guy at only 6 foot and 229 pounds, but his ability to drop back in coverage, see ball, hit ball, diagnose play, and go and put a thumping on a running back was evident in the game against Clemson. I just love his coverage ability. There are several times in the game against Clemson where it was a screen play, whether it was in zone coverage, where he made a tackle that if he didn't make it, it was a touchdown. The Baltimore Ravens, with their big beef up front, with Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, and now adding Derek Wolfe, they're going to have an undersized linebacker that's going to be clean. He's going to be able to go sideline to sideline and stay clean and make plays in that defense for Baltimore.
And Boog, I'll tell you what, when I watched this kid, having spent 4 years in that Ravens organization, I wrote down, this guy plays like a Raven. He was my 15th overall player, so you're getting tremendous value. His ability to make plays sideline to sideline and just the energy that he plays with fits the Baltimore Ravens organization. And Boog, your alma mater is celebrating. I don't know if Ozzie Newsome went to the bathroom or not, but Eric DeCosta took an LSU player, the first time the Ravens have ever drafted an LSU player. And with Ozzie Newsome being an Alabama guy, I think he might have stepped out of the room for a minute.
Yeah, I think this Patrick Queen, he matches up as far as the cerebral part of the game and the physical part of the game. The guy plays smart. He can diagnoses instantly, and he's a guy who then can get off the spot, and he is flying. He may be undersized, but when it comes to measurables as far as his speed is concerned and how it transfers to the field, there's no wonder he makes plays in the run game and even more importantly in the passing game. A 3-down player that'll hide behind that big defensive line. And Mel, I think this is a great pickup for what they need on the second level of that defense down there in Baltimore.
And I contend they may not even win a national title without this guy because the offense was so great. The defense had struggled. Remember, Grant Delpit had been banged up with the ankle, and this guy was the most improved defensive player. Came out of nowhere. Dave Aranda had said, defensive coordinator, most improved player by far on that defense. And for the Ravens, C.J. Mosley was such an integral part of that defense. And you think about the need area at inside linebacker was right there. #1 need area on this football team. To see Patrick Queen fall there, New Orleans really did him a favor by taking Cesar Ruiz because I thought that was a spot maybe Queen would go after Murray had gone. So now all of a sudden the Ravens sit there, don't have to trade up and get a guy that fills a major hole and as a guy can be an immediate starter behind, as you say, that veteran defensive line.
Well, you saw that home where they were celebrating Ventress, Louisiana. His mom knew, as we get a virtual high five here from John Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta in separate places. His mom knew at a very early age he was going to be something special. When he was 4 years old, she saw this light out of the corner of her eye swinging back and forth, and she looked up, and as a 4-year-old, Patrick Queen had jumped up and was just hanging out on the chandelier. So he was a little rambunctious as early as 4 years old, and now he's going to be rambunctious on the field for the Ravens, going with the 28th pick in the first round. Now, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock, and of course, they're drafting late because they made it all the way to the AFC Championship game, and they did it by taking down the King. There's Mike Vrabel, Titans head coach, and John Robinson, the executive vice president GM. They both, of course, came through the Patriots organization, and it was this team with that guy, Derrick Henry, that took down the defending Super Bowl champions, holding the Patriots to just 13 points, and Logan Ryan, a former Patriot, picked off Tom Brady to end the game, the last pass Tom Brady would ever throw as a Patriot. Derrick Henry, of course, then went on to maul the Ravens 28-12, 195 rushing yards and a touchdown. Lamar Jackson was limited in that game. Yeah, he put up a bunch of yards, but a lot of them came late when the game was out of reach. And they were up big on Kansas City, but everybody was up big on Kansas City until Patrick Mahomes says, no, it's winning time, and they won the AFC Championship game 35-24, despite the fact that they were up by double digits twice in that game. And Mike Vrabel's probably not very happy watching those highlights. Sorry, Mike. We just had to recap the season the best way we saw it. As we look at Kurt Warner here, Ryan Tannehill is there. What do we think we need to see around them going forward with this pick?
Well, I think, Trey, they want to continue to build and be the team that they were last year. Ryan Tannehill was at his best when they ran the football, they ran play action, and they attacked down the field. And so Jack Conklin is gone now. Do they try to rebuild that offensive line? Do they get another weapon on the outside? Of course, they've got some defensive needs as well. But you know they want to play the same brand of football. They want Ryan Tannehill. They brought him back to play that same brand of football. It was the best football he played of his career. So I believe they can rebuild on the offensive line if they want, or get him another weapon. I wouldn't be surprised if they went defensive line as well.
Well, it was really interesting the way they constructed that team, because it was going to go as far as Derrick Henry would take them. And during the regular season, Tannehill was actually a stud. When they made the move from Mariota to Ryan Tannehill, that offense clicked, especially down in the red zone. They became one of the best red zone offense in football. Didn't quite translate that way in the postseason, but Tannehill is their guy going forward at quarterback. Where are they going with pick 29? Let's go to the commissioner.
With the 29th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Isaiah Wilson, tackle, Georgia.
They're going beef. So that's the second offensive lineman from Georgia off the board. You saw Andrew Thomas go much earlier. Now they go guard with Isaiah Wilson. So many of those offensive linemen out of Georgia were some of the best in the country. At one point, their offensive line this season just absolutely looked massive. Mel, what do we like about Isaiah Wilson?
Yeah, 6'6", and a half, 350, huge. We talk about Mekhi Becton, how big he is, and Isaiah Wilson, not quite as light on his feet as Becton is, but as a run blocker, can be dominant, driving defenders off the ball when he has the proper leverage. Again, capable of getting to the second level. Results are a little mixed at times. And pass protection, he has decent feet. Better footwork at times is needed, hand placement, pad level, all those things are coming. I thought he needed another year at Georgia. Go back, work on some things technique-wise, and maybe be a top 15 pick next year. He slides into the late first, opposite, obviously, at right tackle, opposite Andrew Thomas. DJ, when you look at Isaiah Wilson, I think another year would have really helped him. He's raw. They had Dennis Kelly there at right tackle. He can maybe challenge or be a guy that can learn from Kelly, obviously taking over for Conklin. So I think he needed another year. He's a little bit of a developmental guy, but he's got some upside.
Yeah, he's going to be the first one off the bus, though, Mel. I can promise you that. I mean, he looks like he's a wrestler. I mean, he is enormous, and we saw him move really well at the Combine. I'm with you in terms of what you see in the run game. He can displace people at the line of scrimmage. Georgia loved to run the football, but in pass protection, I thought he really struggled to sink his weight and play low, got a little bit too high. So there's some work to go with him, needs some development, but you are going to be able to pound the ball with Derrick Henry running behind him.
Well, you mentioned a wrestler. He was a wrestler. He also played lacrosse at Brooklyn Poly Prep in New York. And now Isaiah Wilson is headed to Tennessee to try and protect Ryan Tannehill and block for
The 2020 NFL Draft is presented by Lowe's, the official home improvement sponsor of the NFL. And in part by Burger King. Get 8 original chicken nuggets for just $1. Only at Burger King.
Well, we continue in the draft. Tua Tagovailoa's night came to an early conclusion as Miami decided the hip was good. They took him at 5th, but of course that's just one of 3 picks that they had. If you have a quarterback, you want to make sure you protect him, and they went with the all Pac-12 selection, Austin Jackson, with the 18th overall pick out of USC. There was some trading back and forth, but now we're back on the Miami Dolphins. As you look at Tua and Austin Jackson, both going in the first round already, but they have another pick. Let's take a look at Mel's best available, brought to you by Lowe's. Mel, we see a lot of defensive backs and running backs on the board here.
Yeah, the safeties, Trey, not the corners. The safeties will last a little longer, but these are good football players. McKinney and Winfield are outstanding. Then the running backs. I wouldn't take one, I say, in the first round unless their grade is where it should be. You see where they are. Late first round guys. Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin, is very close to Swift and Dobbins. In fact, I think he could go maybe to Kansas City. Kansas City maybe looking running back. And then Michael Pittman Jr., all he does is get open and catch the ball in contested situations. At 6'4", he ran 4.52, which was better than Juju Smith-Schuster's 4.54. Juju Smith-Schuster, second round. Devontae Adams, second round. Jarvis Landry, second round. Michael Thomas, second round. So if Michael Pittman goes second round, he's following in some very good footsteps of guys who dropped into the second because they didn't run the 4.4 or faster.
Yeah, and those players turned out to be pretty good, by the way, at the next level, Mel. All right, for more on this, let's go back to ESPN insider extraordinaire Adam Schefter. Adam, what are you hearing about what Miami might be thinking?
Well, Trey, here's the interesting part right now. We're at the point of the draft where you could finally see a running back sneak into the back portion of the first round. Essentially, no guarantees it happens, but we got Miami up at 30, Kansas City up at 32, and you have the top running backs all on the board still. DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, all out there at this point in time, waiting to be picked. We'll see whether one of these teams pulls the trigger on one of those running backs right now, but there is some running back talent on the board without a single running back being selected so far in the first round, Trey.
No, absolutely. And let's not forget Jonathan Taylor, one of the most productive running backs we've ever seen. And then there's J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State, the first ever Ohio State running back to top 2,000 rushing yards in a season. How successful was Dobbins at Ohio State? The only player that ran for more yards? Archie Griffin. You might have heard of him. Won back-to-back Heismans in 1974 and 75. So what do we think Miami is doing as Brian Flores and Chris Greer are working the board one more time? Let's go to Daniel Jeremiah here at the NFL Network. Daniel, we've seen a quarterback and we've seen an offensive tackle to protect that quarterback. Where do you think Miami needs to go here?
Well, they have some needs on the defensive side of the ball. I thought maybe trying to find another pass rusher, whether that's inside or on the perimeter. Yetur Gross-Matos from Penn State has a ton of production. You also have Ross Blacklock, who can give you some interior pass rush. So if they wanted to go along the defensive line, there's a couple good options there. But I'm with the guys in terms of, I'm curious to see, do we see a running back come off the board? Because DeAndre Swift, he sticks out like a sore thumb as my best available player.
Yeah, listen, especially with the way the running back position has sort of evolved outside of Derrick Henry, who was the leading rusher last year as a power downhill runner. Most teams are looking for running backs the likes of the Christian McCaffreys of the world, which is something that DeAndre Swift does very well, running and catching the ball out of the backfield. So for the third time, we believe the pick is in here for Brian Flores. Listen, Brian, I get it. Coffee, caffeine, it's important right now. We understand. Chris Greer, the general manager, also trying to figure out what is happening. But we believe that the pick has finally been handed into the commissioner. So we're going to find out after taking Tua Tagovailoa, 5th overall, then taking Austin Jackson, 18th overall, where the Miami Dolphins go here with their third first-round pick. Let's go back to Commissioner Goodell.
With the 30th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Noah Igbenogany, defensive back, Auburn.
Okay, somewhat of a surprise here because remember, they paid Byron Jones and Xavier Howard all that money to be the top 2 paid corners in the NFL, and now they take another corner, Noah Igbenogany, out of Auburn. Now, let me tell you something. If you want to talk about good stock, both of Noah Igbenogany's parents are Olympians. His father, Festus, ran track at Mississippi State and competed in the triple jump for Nigeria in the '96 Olympics. And then there's his mother, Faith, a sprinter at Alabama, completed in 1992 and 1996 Olympics for Nigeria, and won the 1996 bronze medal in the 4x100 meter relay. His sister Hope is a freshman runner at Auburn, and Noah was named to the Alabama Boys Track Athlete of the Year in 2017. Noah Igbenogany is an athlete, Mel, but he goes to a loaded backfield in Miami.
Yeah, you can make a strong argument. I did. He's the 3rd best cornerback in this draft. He's a former wide receiver turned corner, so he's still a little raw, but the kid's got a lot of talent. He's a phenomenal kick returner. To get those XFL rules, and when you get the kick return game back in, he can be a huge weapon, but he's got recovery speed, improving cover skills. You think about a guy excelled in press coverage. He did a good job in terms of showing physicality, made some nice plays on the ball underneath. You can do a better job at times, locating the ball on the deeper routes. He was a little inconsistent there. Instincts people were critical of, DJ. I thought he showed decent instincts for a kid who was a former wide receiver with limited experience. And I'll say another thing, DJ. Gus Malzahn said he was one of the most competitive players, if not the most competitive player on that team, and a very hard worker. That coaching staff was a big fan of Igbenogany.
Yeah, that shows up, Mel, the toughness, the physicality, the wanting to get involved in the run game. He's going to play inside, in my opinion, with the Miami Dolphins. They'll put him at the nickel. You have Xavier Howard on one side. You'll have Byron Jones on the other. He can work in the slot. He does a nice job of finding the football, but you quickly realize why he's a former wide receiver. He's got 18 pass breakups over his career and only 1 interception. That's the problem. He just can't catch, but he's always in position. He can find and knock the ball away.
Raise your hand up. Raise your hand up. Go.
I can tell you the reason that Brian Flores loves this guy because of the amount of man-to-man they play in Miami, one of the top 5 teams in the National Football League as far as the amount of man coverage they play. And this guy loves to get up in your face and be physical. And DJ, I agree with you. He's going to play inside, but you add him to Byron Jones and Howard. Now they have 3 guys that can play man-to-man, and there's never enough corners or DBs that can play man-to-man in that Brian Flores scheme.
A couple of quick things. He's from Auburn, so he's the 14th player from the SEC taken in the first round. 13 was the record just a few moments ago, and now we've added another one. His high school coach said, I've been doing this for 41 years. I've never had an athlete whose parents were both Olympians. And someone said, hey, coach, you're doing a great job with Noah. And he said, brother, listen, I just tell Noah when the bus is leaving. The rest of it is up to him. I don't get in his way. So we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings are now up with the penultimate pick in the first round. Let's go to Commissioner Goodell.
You got to get that horn up. With the 31st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Jeff Gladney, defensive back, TCU.
All right, Lewis, tell a little bit us about Jeff Gladney, the cornerback out of TCU. He's been dealing with some knee injuries, but obviously people feel pretty strong about what his ability is.
Yeah, this is another guy who has a lot of upside, a lot of potential, a lot of speed. He just really needs to, again, develop his ability to finish on the football the last third of the down. But you can see here, just pinning the wide receiver to the sideline, staying in phase, going up high and high, pointing the football. And he's one of those guys that can get up on the line of scrimmage and press. He's shown pretty good zone coverage awareness. He'll tackle against the run. I like the development potential here. Look, you have a good athlete that really right now just needs some more coaching, needs some more refinement, but that's exactly what you're going to find at this point in the draft in a corner like Jeff Gladney.
To me, I saw a little bit of Denzel Ward with just how quick and feisty and competitive he was. When you watch him in off coverage, he's very fluid, he's quick, he can drive on the football. He's an outstanding blitzer, and I think that toughness is what's going to endear him to his new team because that's the way they play on that side of the ball. I think this is a nice fit there with the Minnesota Vikings.
What do you think, Mel?
I like that draft. I mean, Justin Jefferson fell to them at 22. I didn't think he'd be there. Jeff Gladney is a guy. He's a smart football player. He knows how to use his hands, not get penalties. You say, well, he can be handsy. Well, he's smart. He knows how to get in there, still be physical, yet not draw penalty flags. I love his savvy, and I love the fact that he's already a guy coming into the NFL who should be a rookie starter and help that secondary, which is what Minnesota needs at that cornerback spot. I think the Vikings did a really good job with those first two picks.
Okay, so those are their first two picks, but that leads us to the champs, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, Andy Reid's wearing a Hawaiian shirt. What else would he be wearing? And there's Brett Veach, the general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, they're sitting in the catbird seat because 3 years ago they moved up to take that guy. Future Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes, drafted 10th overall in 2017. Safe to say, that turned out well for Kansas City. He was the MVP his first full year as a starter, threw for 50 touchdown passes, the only other players to do that, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. He had 3 10-point comebacks in the 2019 playoff run, and the weirdest thing about that, they went on to win all of those games by at least 10 points, including Super Bowl 54. They were down 10 with 7.5 minutes to go, and Patrick Mahomes said, "Hold my beer," and brought him across the finish line. And listen, the Chiefs with Brett Veach and Andy Reid have done a remarkable job of retaining their talent. They have almost all of their starters back from last year, and now they're sort of in a luxury situation here about what they want to do and how they can add to a team that is going to be, right now, the favorite to maybe get back to a Super Bowl 55, which will be played in Tampa this year. So let's start with you, Mel Kiper Jr. The Kansas City Chiefs addressed a lot of the defensive needs last year that got them to the Super Bowl, and now they're sitting with a luxury almost.
They are, and that running back is there, whether it be DeAndre Swift from Georgia, who's a complete running back. I think you look at a guy like J.K. Dobbins, the way he fiercely attacks the line of scrimmage, outstanding pure runner, receiving a little inconsistent. He had a couple drops this year. Ball security's gotten a little bit better. I think you look at Jonathan Taylor, the best runner when he's holding on to the football. If he didn't have the fumbles, despite not being a great receiver, I think he'd have been a top 20 pick. He's a phenomenal pure runner. Great speed, great instincts, and tremendous production. He's got tread on the tires, but he hasn't been hurt. I just hope he keeps improving as a receiver. He's got to eliminate the fumbles. 18 in his career, 15 lost. But Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, 3 really good backs. And if you're going to take one, this is a spot to do it if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. And I make a prediction for tomorrow. Second round, I think 5 to 6 running backs go off the board in round 2.
Noted. 5 to 6 running backs off the board in round 2. Booger, it might be a little early, but when you talk about what the Chiefs do, and you saw what he did in Joe Brady's offense, I know we're talking about DeAndre Swift, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a fascinating look here as well.
Well, definitely, and I think what we're talking about right now, Trey, is we're talking about 3 down running backs to go in this offense with Patrick Mahomes and the Legion of Zoom on the outside. But also, if you're Kansas City, think about this. Chris Jones wants a new contract. Defensive tackle, pushing the pocket inside. There's some quality defensive tackles. Ross Blacklock, Neville Gallimore, Elliott on the inside. Guys that can push the pocket. And maybe there's some leverage there. If you don't want to pay Chris Jones $20, $22 million, whatever he's asking, maybe you take one of these young guys here. Last pick of the first round, you get that 5th-year option. Maybe Brett Veach and Andy Reid are thinking that way also. But you're right. This is a luxury pick. Running back, defensive line, I don't think they can go wrong.
Players, DeAndre Swift is my 16th overall player, Ross Blacklock at 19. So that could be the decision. Do you take the running back or do you take the defensive tackle? It's a big choice here for Andy Reid and Brett Veach and company. But, man, I tell you what, it's nice when you're making these selections when you've got number 15 ready to play with whoever you pick.
Lewis, you know these guys and you know this front office as well as anyone. With the way the team is presently constructed, with so many of their guys back from the championship run of a year ago, where do you think they might be leaning?
Yeah, I can see running back being a position that they're taking a look at. And I mean, I know there's some quality running backs there that they will like. I think they need to have more speed and even more playmaking ability at the linebacker level. Maybe even a corner could sneak up here. Look, they really are in a luxury situation where Brett Veach and Andy Reid can really sit there and go, hey, look, we can just take whoever we want here. Who really is the guy who's sticking out for us? That doesn't necessarily have to play right now, but we can develop. And I think there's a lot of guys who fit the bill here. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is a position like linebacker or corner, which is something I know they would like to continue to build depth at.
All right, so we'll see what happens. And again, this is the final pick of the first round, and we are waiting to see what Andy Reid and Brett Veach are going to come up with. But again, we've seen some of the safeties out there, and we knew that they're looking at potentially trying to get the back end of that defense shored up. I know you mentioned Chris Jones. They're going to put the franchise tag on him. That could get awkward, but I'm not sure if there's someone at this point in the draft that you'd feel comfortable, because Chris Jones was such a beast for them last year when he was healthy. A little nicked up in the postseason as well, but he was healthy enough to get things going. So the Kansas City Chiefs are close to closing out the first round. And ladies and gentlemen, the pick is in. Where will the champs go? Let's find out now.
You guys aren't super fans for nothing. Let's go. Come on. With the 32nd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs select Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back, LSU.
Sometimes you just have a hunch. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a fascinating running back for them this past season. How about this? Despite only 14 grabs his first 2 years for the Tigers, he had a school record 55 catches for 453 yards. And clearly Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a car guy, because he said, if you're a car guy, I'm like a Pirelli P0 tire fresh off the market. That's my thing. My lifespan is pretty long right now. Only 370 carries in his 3-year career. And his name is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, based on his birth father, Clyde Edwards, and his adopted stepfather, Shannon Helaire. Clyde Edwards is his biological father, but in 2000 he was arrested and sentenced to 30 years in prison when Clyde was 11 months old. Clyde's mother met Shannon Helaire and eventually became a stepfather to Clyde, and he kept both of their names to honor both of them for what they've meant. Boog, we talked about it. What a fit for the offense Andy Reid and company like to run.
Well, it's definitely a scheme fit. You think about Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year in the LSU offense. It's going to be a very similar offense with Patrick Mahomes. He can cut inside and outside as far as hiding behind those big offensive linemen. He's only 5'8", but if you look at his change of direction, the ability to get in and out of his cuts, and then the area where I think he's going to be big and pay huge dividends for the Kansas City Chiefs, catching the football out of the backfield, tough runner, but he's a 3-down player, and this is what you have to have in today's NFL. Not just a runner inside or outside, but you better have somebody that can catch the football. Now, he needs to work on his pass protection, which I'm sure Andy Reid and Brett Veach knows, but they got a really, really good football player in Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Lewis?
Yeah, Coach Reid has always had multi-dimensional running backs on his roster. He's always been someone who's been able to find guys who can run between the tackles, outside the tackle box, and really they can feature him in the screen game. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, when you combine him with Damian Williams, you have a heck of a 1-2 punch, DJ, that's going to make them even more lethal on offense.
No doubt, Lewis. And to me, when I watched him, I compared him to Priest Holmes. I haven't seen so much of him in the AFC when I was scouting. And how about that? Chiefs fans, they know what they're getting with what they had with Priest Holmes. I think this is another version of what Priest was able to do on those Chiefs teams. He is going to be a high-volume pass catcher in this offense, Trey.
Yeah, listen, this you want to talk about, and Louis Riddick said this when they drafted Patrick Mahomes a couple of years ago. It was a perfect fit for what they want to do. When you saw what Clyde Edwards-Helaire did in that Joe Brady offense, who's now the offensive coordinator with Matt Rule in Carolina, you could just see him projected into what Kansas City wants to do offensively, and it's going to be fascinating to watch Andy and company work with all those weapons. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Williams, who was a big part of the Super Bowl win, and now Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Well, that is all 32 picks in the first round, but before we say goodbye, let's go back one more time to the commissioner, Roger Goodell.
That brings us to the conclusion of round one of the 2020 NFL Draft. Before we close, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude for joining us this evening. Thus far, the NFL family has raised more than $85 million, including millions still being raised for COVID-19 relief efforts during the draft-a-thon. And we've only just begun. So keep the donations coming, and you can keep the booze coming too. Please be sure to join us back here on ABC, ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the NFL Network tomorrow night, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for being with us.
Roger, thanks very much. So what a night and what a showing for the SEC. Again, 14 players from the SEC conference taken in the first round. That was an absolute record. We saw the quarterbacks go almost as chalk as Miami Dolphins decided not to repeat the history of what happened with Drew Brees in 2006 when they didn't clear his shoulder. And, of course, Herbert goes right after that to the L.A. Chargers. This has been a lot of fun. We had a super team with us tonight. Our regular guys from ESPN, and great time having the guys from the NFL Network here, including Daniel Jeremiah, Kurt Warner, and Michael Irvin. Listen, guys, this was a blast. Boog, Mel, Lewis, you know I love you, but don't go anywhere. We're going to come back and do it again because the draft is so much fun and the emotion is such a big part of it. It started with Joe Burrow off the top, and it didn't stop there. Again, we've got all those cameras set up with 60 players across the landscape. Mr. Kinlaw was feeling himself for sure. And there, of course, Brandon Ayuk. So much still to come. Cesar Ruiz feeling the moment. We'll be back with you tomorrow night. A virtual hug from the commissioner, but coming on next Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt.